Are you ready to sell your property quickly and hassle-free, or are you looking for a great property management service? Introducing XL Property, your trusted real estate partner. With XL Property, you can expect top-notch service, expert guidance, and maximum value in your home or investment. Sell smarter, sell faster with XL Property. XL Property, your key to a seamless selling and management experience. Visit xlproperty.com.au. Proud sponsor of the Two Blokes in a Pod podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Lush Clean Kicks.
Your pride and joy need a bit of a TLC, bring them back to their former glory. Get in touch with only the best products said to make them all clean and crispy again.
Reach out to Benny, lushcleankicks at gmail.com, or check him out on Instagram and Facebook. You know, Stamati, there's one thing in life that I hate the most over anything in life.
What's that?
Roadworks. I fucking hate roadworks.
Yep.
Right? So on the way here tonight...
The South Road?
South Road.
Yep,
so on the way here tonight, I went up Davenport Terrace. Now, a lot of our listeners probably won't even know where Davenport Terrace is unless you're from Adelaide, right?
Yeah.
So I went up Davenport Terrace, which I never do when I come to this studio to record. I never go down Davenport, but I said, hey, I rang you up. I said, do you want me to grab a coffee on the way through?
Yeah.
So I went to OTR to get ourselves some special, what are they called? Special iced coffees?
The premium coffees.
Premium iced coffees.
Get around it.
Premium iced coffees at OTR. Fantastic. I got the chocolate one and you got the caramel one. Right. So as I'm heading towards South Road, they start blocking off the road to turn right. Now, I didn't need to turn right. I needed to turn left. But what happened is they shut one lane down, so that oncoming traffic from the south completely went into one lane, completely fucked it, right? So it took me a lot longer to get onto South Road. Anyway, so I get onto South Road, I head to OTR, and then the other side of the road is now closed down to one lane. So I get in, I get my coffees, I come back out, struggle again, because it's gone down to one lane. So someone thankfully let me through. I went in. As I'm crossing South Road, Sir Donald Bradman, the other side was completely shut down from Sir Donald Bradman Drive all the way down to Richmond Road, one lane. I'm guaranteeing we're going to leave the studio tonight and it's going to be closed to one lane. I hate it. I hate it. Why?
It's an inconvenience. I think just Adelaide's just all the pipes are all fucked.
But they're fixing a road that's about to get demolished with this superway that they're doing.
So what's the point?
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. They're about to start knocking buildings down to build this fucking South Road superway, and they're fixing roads. What the fuck for?
I don't know, man. I think they just need to spend some money before June.
In positive news, we have got our T-shirts.
We do. Let's see if this actually works. Oh, look at that. Now, shout out to Standout Printing. Go see them. Go speak to Ren or Darren down there. They'll look after you. Tell them Stamati sent you, and they'll probably charge you double. Have a suss. There you go. We got the at the back.
Yeah, that's it. There we go.
Have a suss of that, mate. Standout Printing, mate. Where are they located? I think it was Welland.
You're the one that bought them.
I did. Let's have a look at their address. There we go. Darren. They are located 3/150 Frederick Street, Welland. Speak to Darren or Ren. Standout Printing, mate. They will sort you out.
Beautiful. Thank you very much to the guys. I love it. I wore it Friday night to training.
Fantastic.
You wore it as well.
I did.
People were commenting and they were like, "Where's mine?" And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Where is yours? So we're going to open up some merchandise opportunities.
Yes.
And these T-shirts will be available soon through our website, twoblokesindapod.com.
They will.
Right? So get on it. All right. Hot stuff for tonight or for this episode. Obviously,
Big special guest.
our massive special guest. An incredible story ahead. We've read his book, or I've listened to it. And I've read a lot of articles, watched a few interviews with him already.
Yep.
But this is Pablo Escobar's firstborn son is about to join us on the podcast. Oof. And I am goddamn excited.
Oh, mate.
So Roberto Sendoya Escobar is about to join us via Teams, Zoom, whatever we're using. And I'm excited. How are you feeling?
A little nervous, to be honest. I don't know. Haven't really spoken to anyone quite like him before.
Of this caliber?
No. So
what are some things that you're going to ask him?
I don't know.
Did you ever do coke?
No, I don't think I'm going to ask him that. I don't know.
Do you know where the money is?
Yes. Do you know where the money is? Let's see if we've got the balls to ask him when he comes on. I don't know.
Do you want to revive Dad's business?
No, I don't think he would, mate. I do not think he does. No, I don't know. Just the general questions, like what was it like? What was it like growing up? Like how did it affect you long term? I don't know. What inspired you about this book? I don't know. We'll just see how it goes, man.
All right. You know what? Hold your questions. Hold your thoughts. Let's get into it. And let's get chatting with him. What do you reckon?
Let's do it.
This is Two Blokes in a Pod.
Hey, what is that?
The podcast where, well, it's a bit of this, a bit of that.
I don't understand.
Just blokey laughs and blokey chats.
Okay.
Whatever it is, let's get started.
Done.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
We're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, that's brilliant. When I went to Rupert Murdoch's office in London to do an interview, we went through all this shit with cameras and light and action, and I had girls doing makeup and everything else. And then they said, we want you to read the opening chapter of your first book. And they had it all. We were on the 17th floor in London in Murdoch's office, and it was all big stuff, production. And they're always like a couple of hours to set the scene up. And then the guy counts me down and he goes, 5, 4, 3. And when they get to 3, it goes silent. He goes like that. And then the clipboard says action. And I opened the book and said, once upon a time, there were 3 bears. Mama bear, Papa bear, and baby bear.
Is there a way you can?
Manager goes, oh.
I want to ask you a question about your book, but I think we'll leave that for the actual interview.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. I just thought that was a good story.
Would you be able to go back because it's like half your face is on the just recording, like on the video feed? Are you like?
What do you want me to do?
We can pretty much just see from your moustache up. There we are.
Oh,
perfect. Very good. Now I can really see the Pablo in you. Yeah. All right, excellent. Should we get started?
You know, as soon as you're going to go on set, on stage, or on to do anything to do with live production, guess what happens? You wake up in the morning and you get a big zit on your nose. Shit.
Hey, do you know what works really well with that? Windex. Yeah. Spray Windex on your zit.
That reminds me of my big fat
That's
wedding.
exactly
Windex. Yeah.
All right, let's get rolling.
In the end, we all fruit.
That's right.
It.
That's right.
We are rolling. This is it. You gotta. Life is so heavy and so horrible and so fucking depressing that basically I decided to spend the rest of my life mucking about.
You got to. Either you laugh or you cry, mate.
That's
it.
right.
Yeah.
And if you cry, you just fall in this black hole all the time. But welcome to Two Blokes in the Pod.
There are moments. There are moments.
Welcome to Two Blokes in a Pod. It is an absolute pleasure
Thank
to
you.
have you with us today. Is that straight vodka that you're drinking there?
Tequila.
Or tequila?
I was a bit drinking.
Well, yeah, so like I mentioned to you in our little pre-conversation we had last week, you were introduced to us by a mutual friend, Jenny, who is a lover of world cricket. And you,
Incredible woman.
of all people, you have a background in cricket. You love the sport.
Well, yeah.
She said you were not half bad wicketkeeper. Is that true?
Yeah, well, I mean, in those days I was young and leaping about like a monkey, but I mean, I might be a bit rickety now, but well, the thing is, right, I mean, obviously, I was sent to an English boarding school to get away from the violence. My real father was trying to kidnap me back. I don't know who the kidnappers were. Was it MI6 kidnapping me from, I get confused now. It's like who the baddies and who the goodies. And it's like a bit difficult to work it out. But at the end of the day, it culminates in the violence being so gratuitous that they sent me to an English public boarding school. Now, you got to remember, I'm a Colombian kid. When I was first taken from this, which we can discuss later, to the orphanage, and then I was adopted by an MI6 spy called Patrick Whitcomb. I couldn't speak English. The only people I could speak to were my bodyguards and our servants. I couldn't speak to my adopted parents because they spoke this other language. I don't know what the hell it was. So then and I learned English little by little, speaking to my parents and their friends, but I was still crap at it. And when I got sent to boarding school, I mean, my English was shocking. I mean, I was a proper foreigner. Oh, video's gone. Hi, guys. Are you there? Right.
Yeah, we're here.
So I was, So I was like a fish out of water. And it was like 9,500 miles away from home. So really not good. It was a horrible thing. But anyway, I was sent to boarding school, and it was a prep school. So a prep school in England is like from 6 to 11 or 12, something like that. So you might call it, what is that in Australia? Kindergarten or something like that?
Yeah, a prep school's a
Prep school
kindergarten or
yeah.
reception.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, right, all the kids in my prep school, most of them parents were multi-millionaires. It was one of those very private top English schools, where Lord Muck sent his kids. We used to get quite a few sort of wealthy Arab princes and foreigners who would send their little kids to this school as well. So we were all most of us didn't know what money was, you know what I mean? But I was taught two games which I thought were incredible. Now, I had experienced baseball because that was played a lot in Colombia, and I had experienced football because that's the national game. Of
course.
And that's good. But, both these sports are like, hit a ball. But then I get to this new country where it's absolutely fucking freezing every day and pissing down with rain, which was horrible. But I get to this new country, and I won't go into how. I mean, boarding school is not for the faint-hearted at the best of times. Yeah. So that's going to cause you mental scars for the rest of your life anyway.
In your book, you were saying that you struggled to adjust for a while. I mean, how long did it take you to sort of not come to terms with it, but like accept the fact that you were there and just went on with it?
I never did.
Never did.
No, because you see, you've got to remember that as you read in my book, I had, the president of Colombia used to come and visit me. I used to meet Princess Anne. She used to come to Colombia to do, I don't know what she did. So we were in this area. Our family lawyer, had been, before he was shot, had been a personal friend of JFK. We had my godfather, my real godfather, Gregorio, was easily one of the richest people in the world at the time. Much richer than my real father, which is something we can get into later. But so money was like, we had power, my family we just did it. I mean, I never went through immigration when I flew abroad. We just got off the plane, straight into a limousine. So we had this weird lifestyle, although you don't know what that is. But so you got all this stuff. I mean, when I was like 5 years old, I'd just go like this, and someone would come and bow and say, "What would you like?" You know, that kind of stuff. So we lived in that world. So then they sent me to boarding school, and I've got these old people who I don't know, who are obviously teachers, and they're telling me what to do. I mean, who the hell do they think they are?
Yeah, right.
So basically, I just stuck one finger up at them. Basically, I'm not doing as you tell me to do, and I wasn't the only kid there that did that. And of course, we got beaten for it, which was not great.
That chair that was in the principal's office.
Yeah. And I look back now and I thought, right, if I could just go back now, I'd beat the crap out of him. But he's died, so that's a shame. But I wish I'd been able to beat the crap out of him before he died. But anyway, and that's another story. Bit of my father in there. I'm still hiding that, trying to push that down all the time. But just getting into this, you adjusting, that kind of adjustment is not something you do properly ever.
Okay.
What happens is you're a bunch of kids left on your own, and you become feral, and you have gangs and groups of people, and you sort of separate into those groups of people you identify with the most. So like we were the foreign kids, and then there were the local kids, and then so we had all this kind of stuff going on. But in the middle of it, the grown-ups were trying to administer discipline. And a lot of us were spoiled, billionaire kids, and we just didn't want to do as we were told. So must have been difficult for the people that ran the school. But our school fees kept them in work and kept the school going. But no, I didn't adjust very well at all, And in fact, I've always been a bit of an independent person. I've never really fitted into groups properly, but I do like games. I'm very sporty, and they taught me this game where there was this funny shaped ball, and if someone else that wasn't in your team had this ball, you could run up to them and hit them as hard as you could to get the ball off them. I thought, wow, I just love this game. They call it rugby, but I didn't care about the name. It was just a great game where you could kick the living crap out of each other. And we learned very quickly that our school teachers were a bit, not so quick in the head on sports. And so if you distracted them, you could have a proper good scrap the other side of the pitch. They wouldn't even know. So great fun. Enjoyed that. And then there was this other weird game where there were two teams. And the team that was...
Are you ready to sell your property quickly and hassle-free, or are you looking for a great property management service? Introducing XL Property, your trusted real estate partner. With XL Property, you can expect top-notch service, expert guidance, and maximum value in your home or investment. Sell smarter, sell faster with XL Property. XL Property, your key to a seamless selling and management experience. Visit xlproperty.com.au. Proud sponsor of the Two Blokes in a Pod podcast.
Are you there?
Yeah, there we are.
Okay. Had a bit of a dropout.
Are you there?
Yep.
Yeah. Where did we get to?
Rugby.
Oh, we haven't got to cricket yet.
No.
You were talking about this sport where
it was socially acceptable to beat the shit out of each other, not get in trouble for it.
Yeah. I mean, in those days, now it's all silly rules like you can't punch each other, nothing like that. In those days, right, the hookers used to be underneath there gouging and doing all sorts. And like 9-10-year-olds, it's great because you always get into trouble for fighting. So in this game, you could do it kind of surreptitiously, which is quite good fun. Really enjoyed rugby. Always had black eyes and all sorts of stuff, and a flat nose and all sorts of, and I really enjoyed rugby. So they're getting onto this other weird game. You didn't think it was cricket. This game cricket. I mean, what the hell is that? I mean, all I knew about cricket was Jiminy Cricket in Pinocchio. So I thought, well, okay, cricket. I'm like a foreign kid. I come to this land which is on the other side of on another planet, and they're going to teach you this game, which is all about being very sophisticated and all this stuff. And I'm like, come on, and I think it's baseball, because basically you've got to hit a ball as hard as you can when you've got this big wooden thing in your hand. So I thought, fuck it, I'm going to get when they. Like that, you see. So I wasn't considered to be a very stylish batsman.
Well, I mean, the way Jenny introduced, her relationship with you, she's like, Pablo Escobar's firstborn son was a wicket keeper.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah. Well, one of the things I excelled in certain areas. Cricket's a very skillful game and requires a lot of different types of people with different talents. So you got your bowlers and you got your batsmen and you got your fielders and you got your whatever. What I'm very good at, still am, is catching and throwing a ball, which is why when I played rugby, I was always a scrum half. But in cricket, it's very useful if you got a good eye and a quick eye. But the problem is the guy that ran the cricket team was a vice headmaster at our school, and he hated my guts. And I think that's because one of his daughters fancied me. But anyway, that's another story. And can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So basically, this guy used to say, "You bloody useless boy, put those gloves on and go and stand behind the stumps." I'll say, "What, the sticks, sir? You mean them sticks out there? The stumps, boy. Go and stand behind there and catch the ball if the batsman misses it." So I thought, okay. And he used to make me stand right behind the stumps with a fast bowler coming at me. And I had a good eye, and I used to be able to catch it. No problem. I'll be diving around like a nutter. And I just took to wicket keeping. It was great fun. I mean, the best part of wicket keeping is you can cheat like hell. It's fantastic. I mean, you can have the bails off before anyone. We used to do all sorts of things. I had a piece of string that I used to bring on, a bit of cotton, and a matchstick, and I used to put the matchstick down the middle stump hole, and if the ball got anywhere near the stumps, I'd just pull the string, and the bails would come off. Ow, yay! And of course, our senile old goat of a science teacher, the other end, umpiring, wouldn't even know what happened. They just, right, that's it, you're out.
Oh,
So, a typical Colombian style. I used to use the game to basically get my way, which is really good fun. But I mean, I was really crap batsman. But I used to like hitting. I always hit the ball. I always got caught out somewhere on the boundary somewhere. That was me.
so now talking about Colombian and all that. So it was until your early adulthood where you found out the real story behind you. I mean, you grew up. Did you grow up realizing you were a bit different to, your average
Pom?
white pom?
Pom? I'm not a pom. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I had a very strange. The thing is, there are two ways to look at this. A lot of my book is written through the eyes of a child, and I'm just remembering what that kid went through, and I'm thinking it's almost like it was a separate person. And when you're a kid, what's presented to you, you think is normal.
Yeah.
Until later, you realize that that's not quite right. I mean, who the hell goes to school in an armored car with men with guns? I mean, nobody. But to me, that was normal. But later I found out why they used to do that, which is part of my incredible story. But we used to go to see this guy in Medellin, and I didn't know who he was. And he used to I used to sit next to him, and he used to tell me he was my father and all this stuff. And I'm like 7 years old. I don't know what the hell's going on. When you're very young, you don't really know what's going on. It's just your parents tell you what to do, and you sort of do what you're told, But I had a very interesting relationship with other people that weren't my parents. I had a very good relationship with our maid. We had a live-in maid, and I had a really good relationship with her. Her name was Ortelia, and I got loved her a lot more than my parents or anything like that, because I had this weird relationship with my parents. It's a bit like that film with Julie Andrews, where she's the sort of the governess and has to look after these children. And she sings, "The hills are alive with the sound of music." We lived in that world, we had to sing goodnight to our guests and then march off to bed. But so the childhood was really, I look back now and it's weird, but at the time, to us, like, it's normal. Because there's nothing to compare to. You're at home. We didn't go out and play in the playground and things like that. So I look back at this childhood now and I think, wow, that's pretty weird. So going back to your question, we're leaping right forward now, and I'm working as a graphic designer, designing and drawing golf courses on the Costa del Sol, which is the southern coast of Spain, in the early 80s. And I've got a wife, I've got children, and I'm making loads of money. And I'm working for part-time, but I'm working for a famous golfer called Peter Allis, who sadly has died now. And he used to do a lot of commentary on the US Open and that sort of thing in his latter years. And he turned to golf course designing as he got older. And he was working for a company called Costain on the Costa del Sol, and they were building this huge development of townhouses and I don't know what else. And I was down there doing all the concept drawing for them, and they paid me good money. So we're living in a villa. I've got it all. It's fantastic. And my adopted father, I had a good relationship with him, and he was still on his stuff, doing his stuff, because he worked for MI6, and he was in Madrid. And this was 1989. I'd been on the Costa del Sol for 6 years, since 1986. And I'm in the villa after having done a hard day's work on the drawing board. And I get a phone call from my adopted father. And normally he talks to me about, oh, we're going to come down and see you in June. It's going to be great, this kind of stuff. But this time he didn't. This time he rang me. And it was around Christmas time, but before Christmas. It's like, I'm going to guess somewhere around about September-ish, maybe. But, I mean, don't quote me on that. I might not quite have got that right. But normally I would be going to Madrid to do the shopping for Christmas for the kids, because the shops down on the Costa del Sol were crap in that time period. And so he rang me up and said, I need to speak to you. And I said, oh, this sounds a bit ominous. So can you come up? So, drive up to Malaga, get on the Iberia flight to Madrid a couple of days later. And I get a cab to the apartment. And he had a really nice apartment on number 6 Calle Goya Street in Madrid, penthouse suite and all that sort of stuff. And we had a house in England as well, but this is where he was stationed at the moment. And he was on some secret operation to do with Karachi and all the rest of it. But the head office for this operation was in Madrid for some reason. And I arrived in the afternoon, and he said, we're going out for dinner because I'm not cooking. So we went out for something to eat, and we went to see a film called Full Metal Jacket. Do you remember that film?
No.
Can't say I do.
I don't know that movie.
Oh, it's a Vietnam War movie.
Okay.
Came out in the late 80s. Yeah, it was a really good boys movie. We had chocolates and ice cream, and we were proper little lads. And we were walking home from the apartment, and he just turned around to me. We walked past this very ordinary apartment block, and the garage is underneath, and he just said to me, that's where we keep the money. And I'm like, what? You can't just tell me that's where we keep the money. I knew he was in security and all the armored cars and the rest of it. So I just assumed he meant that's where they hide some money for the banks. I don't know what I thought, but I'm like 24 years old, so I'm a grown up, so I could talk to him about it. And I said, "What money?" And we had this sort of weird conversation where I was trying to get this out of him because he started it, so I wanted to know. So he said, "Tomorrow morning I'll show you." It's in a chapter in the book. You've probably already read that chapter.
Yep.
So the next day I describe it in detail. We go into this basement effectively. And at the bottom of the basement, we get in there and there's a pallet in the middle of the room. And there's these huge, big black sacks in there. And he gestures me to open one of them and it's full of money. Brilliant.
Can I have some?
Yeah, like millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. I mean, And then it turns out that he tells me that this is the remnants, so the small amount that's left of a much bigger hoard of money that he's been saving up for someone very important that I know, who's now got himself into a lot of trouble. And so he's now putting this money into a different place and getting rid of it. And basically, I think you could say hiding it, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. So basically, this money was being taken out of Colombia. It was money that had been cleaned through the Calatrava housing estate, which is why he called those housing estate the houses that Philip built. And that money was being brought out of Colombia and stashed in Madrid. Because there was a secret plan. Now, this is what people don't know, but there was a secret plan for the guy that they were working with in the drugs trade to get him out with his family to have asylum in the United Kingdom. And he was going to go and get out of the drugs trade, go and live in the United Kingdom. And this was the stash that they were putting together for him to live off. And that was a general plan that they had. And that was what the MI6 agent had offered him in return for his help to provide all the information that was required so that the Yanks could go in later, which they did. You look it up in the history books in Panama. They got all the money back and they got hold of Noriega and then they got what they wanted. But they had turned this guy who was just a street thug within a gang, and they turned him into a kingpin. And they made him who he was by giving him the routes through Panama, which the other guys didn't have. And so he became the master in the sense that he was the most successful of the members of this loose affiliation of businesses we now call a cartel. Yep. But they are individual people that buy and sell drugs and narcotics. And in those days, it was cocaine. So effectively, this money was for that. But then it became useless because this guy was now got himself into such a lot of trouble that he was now fighting extradition to America. And every time a court case came up, he'd have the judges shot. Every time something happened, but he eventually agreed to go to a prison in Colombia on the understanding that the prison would be a place that he'd built himself, a luxury villa, basically. And they called it the cathedral. It was that big. And he lived in this place.
And all his mates were the guards and everything. It's just like, is it really a prison?
So all his mates, he agreed to this. It basically approached the Colombian government and he said, look, I'm not going to be extradited. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay the national debt of the country off, because he's got so much money, it doesn't matter. And in return, you let me go to prison here, and I'll. So his idea was that he could control the cartel business from this prison, and everything would be fine. But that didn't work out. He by this time he'd gone a bit mad. He's a megalomaniac, it had affected him too much, and he thought he was more powerful than he was. Eventually, you go around killing people. Eventually, it comes back on you, and when he started killing members of the government and deputies of the local government and stuff, that was it. They declared war on him, and that was it. It was the end of his business, really. But in the middle of all this, you've got a situation where the British Secret Service are had been controlling him to a point, because they had this boy. So I don't know who was doing the kidnapping, but they had his eldest son, and living in this family. But then he'd been shipped off to England. It's quite a complicated thing, but effectively, because he'd gone to prison in this prison thing. This wasn't really a prison, but it was guarded. They had barriers and guards and stuff. But, they used to have busloads of hookers come in, and they'd have parties and cocaine and, but, eventually that went wrong. And his right-hand man, Pitt, the henchman, who they used to call him Popeye because his eyes used to come out a bit like, he eventually, they stopped, their loyalty wasn't there anymore. And he decided to escape and go on the run with a bodyguard and a couple of $1 million. Well, that's what Saddam Hussein did as well. It doesn't work. They find you in a hole somewhere or whatever. But he got tracked down because it's stupid, and, basically. It's done all that is history. But the key here is this money in Madrid is now no longer of any use to anybody, so he hides it. And that's part of the story, which is quite interesting.
So at what point? So at 24 years old, you found out who your real father was.
Yeah, because after the cinema thing, he starts telling me stuff. Yeah, he starts talking to me, and I said to him and I keep having these nightmares of a woman in a red dress. I'm waking up every night in a cold sweat, noises in my childhood. And he explains to me stuff like what that is, and it's like really shocking and depressing. But I think he felt really guilty. He was in tears when he was talking to me about these things.
Wow.
So we had this relationship after that, where every time I met him or spoke to him, I wanted to know more stuff about my childhood.
Yeah. So as a 24, how do you take all that in? How does that affect you? In the head, mentally, that's just. That's a lot of information to sort of take in.
Before you answer that one, I just want to add a pre-question to that. So you've just found out who your real father is. Did you at that moment in time go, who the hell is Pablo?
Yeah, that's the crux of the matter. Now we have Google, we just go blah, 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 and we just know everything. But now, in those days, you didn't know anything.
Just relying on the news, really.
Yeah, and we had the news people telling us what we needed to know, and we didn't know anything. All I knew was there was a guy in Madrid that we in Medellin that we used to go and see, and there was a lot of trouble. So when he referred to this, he said to me, "Do you know the guy we used to go to see in the Intercontinental Hotel in Medellin?" Yes. He said, "Do you remember you used to have to go with your two bodyguards and sit at his table, and he put his arm around you and all that stuff? Do you remember that?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, that guy, right, is your real father, because you remember I told you were adopted?" And I went, "Oh, yeah," but I didn't know what that meant. And he said, "Well, basically, that guy was your real father. And the woman in the red dress was your mum. And the red dress wasn't a red dress. It was her covered in blood. And you were a very small child, and you saw her die."
How old were you?
And it's like,
because it says in the book that you're still in a cot.
Yeah, I was basically a toddler.
Oh, wow.
But my point is that as soon as you can see and hear, your brain is recording. Your brain is a computer that records everything. You even record sounds and your experiences in the womb. As soon as your brain is developed to a point where it can function, you start recording your life. Yep. Regardless of whether you're going to remember it or be able to recall it back, that's not the point. Everything that happens to you, everything you do in life, everything that you do to others and everything that people do to you, the sights, the smells, the good, the bad, everything is recorded in here. You record it all. Well, how much we recall back and we remember is neither here nor there. But the point is, all our life experiences are recorded in our brains, and they're kept there it's a huge computer system. And nightmares and dreams and all this stuff your brain, fixing itself and sorting things out and recalling these things back. Now, when things go wrong is when the brain can't deal properly with these. Some experiences are so traumatic that they carve a big, deep, crevasse into your memory banks, and they're there all the time. And so you try and put them away, but they keep coming back at you. And the experience that I must have experienced that is a nightmare that still wakes me up today. I'm nearly 60 years old, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. But I didn't know what it was. It was just a thing. It was a nightmare. And it caused me a lot of trouble. I mean, a lot of trouble over the years. Now, I'm not one for like getting the violins out and like feeling sorry for myself, because I don't think that's the way to deal with it. But I'm able to recall it and talk about it. And that was just one of many, many experiences where this big fat hammer of life just kept beating me over the head, and so all through my life I've had this, and then I come up for some more. Come on and finish me off, you bastards. That's the way I've always been in my life. And I've always been a fighter. But I have got into some very serious problems mentally over the years because of these things. But my adopted father was although he had this job, MI6, secret agent, Bond, all this stuff, he had a really loving family side to him. He was very soft, really, inside. And he was really loving towards me. And he was absolutely gutted about this incident that he felt responsible for. And what can you do? I don't know.
Did your adopted father by any chance have a code name like 007 or anything James Bond related? I'm always fascinated about the MI6.
Yeah, well, there are different types of MI6 agents. Most MI6 agents are information gatherers. So they get sent to a country and they have to get information back to their handlers and stuff like that, which is effectively what he did. But when the company you set up as your cover story, which is working for the Colombian government printing banknotes, gets robbed, you got to teach the thugs a lesson. So they did. But it was a bit overkill, and the young girl in the back of this room who was living with this hoodlum called Pablo Escobar, and he was like 16 and she's 14, and they've had a baby. That's not abnormal. It sounds like weird, but it's not abnormal. It happens today in millions of places. The gang that robbed this armored car stored the money in that house, and that's why they went to that house to get the money back. And it is purely a coincidence that the little boy experiences this traumatic thing where his young mother gets a bullet by accident and is dying on the floor, and Pat Whitcomb, the MI6 agent, is holding her hand, and he tells me this story with tears in his eyes in Madrid, about how she says, "Look after my little boy Roberto," and looks in the corner, there's a baby in a cot. I'm like, it's almost impossible to imagine what that little, I look at the baby as like someone else. But it's almost to imagine what the memory must have gone into that baby's head of all that noise and trauma of, a secret service operation with special forces, and you're in a house in the middle of it all. You imagine what that baby must have experienced as memories. Oh. Well, you're never going to be quite right after that.
No. So can you elaborate a little bit more on, the ups and downs of your mental health? I guess from the moment you started finding out about the real you and the your real background. Obviously, we talk a lot about men's mental health on this podcast. So can you hit a little bit on that?
I can give you a lot of bits on that. So what you don't realize what we don't really realize is that all our life experiences are affecting the way we are going to behave later in life. So if you go through a series of traumas, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. There are millions of children going through hell right now today all over the world. So it's nothing special. But I did go through some shit, and some pretty bad shit. Experiencing someone trying to kidnap you, and my bodyguard pulls his revolver out and shoots the attempted kidnapper in the head right in front of me. And I'm like 6 years old. I saw this, and you see someone's brains being splattered over the wall in your own home at 6 years old. I mean, how does the brain deal with that? I don't know. It's just, these are traumatic incidences in my life that culminate in me being a very rebellious and difficult child at school. Because my brain isn't settled. I don't want to do the things they're telling me to do. I don't want to sit down and learn French. I mean, what the fuck's that? I don't want to do that stuff. And so as from a very early age, I'm very rebellious. So this is one of the effects of experiencing trauma. It manifests itself in different ways. And in my way, it manifested itself in a complete lack of respect for authority figures, because it was the authority figures that had caused the trauma.
Yeah.
Or this selection of, I mean, I don't know what's going on, but this, now I'm able to look back, I can see that this is how it's worked, how it's happened. And so these sets of traumas, one on top of the other, 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 and then just being sent 9,500 miles away from anybody I know, is another great big hammer in the head. And all these traumas build up and build up and build up and build up. But I have to get on with life. And so you're trying to get on with life. You're trying to have a relationship with people that you know and stuff in life as a teenager and stuff. But there's this anger. And now often, I mean, prisons all around the world are full of youngsters that have got angry and haven't been able to control themselves, and that's it, bang. So I don't know. I had this anger in me, which I still have some today. I'm still trying to keep a lid on it. But these traumas produce the effect of anger and wanting to get back at people for what they've done to you. So that's one thing that I fight all the time in my life, fighting anger. And at school, if I was called a dago, I'd say, boom, and then I'm getting into trouble. So I learned that that's not the solution. The solution is to block it out and walk away.
Yeah.
But when you're like 9 years old and someone insults you, I don't care how big they are, they're going to come down. This is my mentality. And, I'm like a little Colombian. I'm only 5'6". And when I was a kid, if some big kid come up to me and call me a dago and push me around, I'll just kick him in the nuts and thump him in the face. And then when he's down, poof, and then the teachers would have to take me off it. And this is the anger of all that abuse and crap that was in my life had come out of me. And so that's not good, because I'm always getting into trouble at school. Yeah. So then I'm always on detention. So then I can't learn. And, it's the whole thing starts to build up into a big pile of shit, basically. So I'm going through my teenage years like this. But thank God I learned the games of sport. It got me out of these problems because I was really fit physically and I excelled in these sports. So, your cricket, your rugby, fencing, I was really good at fencing. I fenced for the All England Club in London later. Wow. Sword fighting, anything to do with fighting or physically hitting someone or whatever.
Anything you can get away with.
Yeah. And the thing is that cricket is such a gentlemanly sport that, I'm like the devil there. It's brilliant. It's just the playoff between the kind of person that I am, wanting always to get away with something or whatever, and this gentlemanly sport with all these rules, that's perfect for me.
Keep you in line,
it's
mate.
like sitting on a plane at 38,000 feet and there's a big red sign on the door that says do not open. Well, I just got to open it, right? Thank God I haven't done that yet. But anyway, so...
Oh, God, remind me never get on a plane with you, mate. Bloody hell.
When I sit down on a plane, I get down, they're playing the elevator music and the air hostess is coming along, checking you out, make sure you've got your seatbelt done up and all the rest of it. I'm sitting there thinking, right, we're at 38,000 feet. We're going down, right? Where's the nearest exit? I don't care any about these people. They're all going to die. I'm getting out of this fucking plane.
God.
That's what I think about when I'm taxiing down the wrong way. So anyway, getting back to the story. So the traumas build up in your life, okay? And they don't go away. There's no like a magic pill you can take, and mental health advocates, people who mean well. They go, oh, yes, oh, isn't that terrible? And, I can't deal with that shit either because I'm thinking, what the hell do you know? You don't know
That's
nothing.
right.
Yeah.
So you get angry at everybody, angry at people who are trying to help you and understand you because you see it as some kind of bullshit because they haven't seen that or they haven't experienced that themselves. So you get angry at everybody. So anger is a big problem, and a lot of people experience anger. One of the ways a lot of people deal with mental health problems is to take drugs. So there are lots of drugs out there that are really, not very good for you.
Of course.
And
Cocaine.
one of the drugs that's used by most people, I say most people, is alcohol. So as I got older, I discovered that drink was quite good. It made you feel good. But because I was a very keen sportsman, I didn't use drink or alcohol at the time. But as I got older and I went through even more experiences of problems in life and so on, and you get to the stage where I'm now 24 and I meet my father and he tells me the story, there's when things start to go a little bit, my brain's not dealing with the full problem properly. And it's all going well. I can deal with this bombshell because I'm very strong mentally. I can deal with everything else with this bombshell. And you can't imagine that I've just had to deal with what my adopted father just told me, right? Okay. And I go back to the house in Southerande on the Costa del Sol. And I'm sitting down on the patio with my lovely wife, Sue, and the children. And I don't know what we're doing. It's Sunday, barbecue time, whatever. I've now got bodyguards at the house because my adopted father's put security there. I'm thinking, oh, Christ, we're back to bodyguards. And my wife says, oh, I'm going to go and get some more lemonade from the kitchen. And she gets up and she starts walking around in circles. So I'm thinking, this girl's been at the Pims. She's pissed. We'll be all right tonight, lads. She's pissed. So I said to her, where are you going? She said, I'm going to the kitchen. I said, you're not. You're walking around in circles.
Kitchen's that way, mate. Kitchen's that way.
Yeah, kitchen. Fucking that way. What's wrong with you? So anyway, I sat her down and said, sit down there. I'll go and get it for you. The wife's got pissed. I'll deal with this later. That night, she gets a really bad headache. 2 days later, she's diagnosed with a brain tumor the size of a cricket ball in her head.
Oh, jeez.
How long have you got to live? 2 weeks.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I've now experienced that on top of everything else. I've got children. I've got my business to run. I now know who my real father is.
This is what, 24 years old? 24 years old.
Yeah. On top of all the experiences in life, which have already beaten the shit out of me anyway, I've now got this shit to deal with. My wife's going to die. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when you go out to work or whatever it is you do, your wife looks after the kid. I might be very old-fashioned here, sorry for being old-fashioned, but, we had a traditional family. Like, I'm the bloke because I've got a penis, and my wife is the wife because she's a woman, right? Mm. And she's looking after the kids, and I'm going out to work. That's just the way we were brought up. We were just traditional family. I know the world's gone mad now, but anyway, don't worry about that.
Look, we've all grown up in that too. My dad was the provider. My mum was the home carer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's that's the European way of life as it was.
Yeah, and to me, I think as humans, we were designed like that. Mm. I'm a God-fearing man, and I believe that we were the two sexes were designed for that reason, to have the intercourse to procreate. The woman has a whole different amazing part of the way the woman is made up is absolutely perfectly made for providing and looking after and understanding what a family
nurturing
is,
and
and women can provide this different kind of love to us men. We love, but it's a different ballgame. But we're a bit tougher. We can go out there and get the spear and go hunting, shooting, and fishing. Okay, so that's the kind of family we were. And now I'm going to lose this. So I'm fucked. I can't go run my business. I got to sit here and go, do I love my business or do I love my children? So I loved both. I mean, I loved going to work and earning money, doing deals. It's great fun. So I'm in a bit of trouble now. So unfortunately, I started drinking too much. We get through the whole shit with the wife, got her to England, operation. It's a long story. 3.5 years later, I nursed her at home. But I'm going from a guy with a chauffeur-driven Mercedes, a lot of money coming in, living the vida loca. I'm now sitting in England with nothing.
wow.
Nothing, right? My wife has just died. I've just buried her. I've got 2 little kids, and I've got fuck all.
So this is a 3.5 years after she was told only 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, but she had treatment in England, and it kept her going, and she was bedridden for a long time, and I looked after her. I nursed her at home myself. She said, I don't want to die in the hospital. I said, okay, I'll deal with it. And I didn't know how hard that was going to be, but it very nearly killed me. I promise you, I was on the edge of just killing myself.
Wow.
Because you can't try and imagine. Oh, you've forgotten already. We got to this stage. You've forgotten the shit I've been through as a child.
Yeah.
I've managed to put that away somewhere, and now I've got all this shit to deal with. And then in 1993, okay, God, 1993, my adopted father in January, I think it is, he died of motor neuron disease.
Oh, jeez. So how
This
long
is the
after?
man. You haven't got to the end of the book, but you get some tissues out, mate, because
wow.
I'm sat on his bed in Walton-on-Thames Cottage Hospital, and he's dying of motor neuron disease is
horrible.
Don't even go there.
Horrible.
I'd rather be blown up by a bomb or something. Motor neuron disease is not nice. And so this big MI6 secret agent, honorable man, queen, country, family, and he's rotting away on the bed there. I mean, that is just... So I've got that to deal with. I'm sitting there. I've got my wife at home round the corner with nurses and doctors and shit. The kids are at school. My adopted father, the one and only person in the world that I really respected, is about to die.
So this is all happening all at the same time.
Yeah, all at the same time. So geez. I can only fill the gaps up with drink.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that keeps me going. Bit of rum and coke. So I'm basically permanently pissed, but I got to a level where I could cope, so that's even worse. So he before he dies, there's stories in the books. I won't
don't ruin it for me yet.
But before he dies, he does give me a piece of paper, and that's just unbelievable. But you know what? I've learned in life to cope with these things. Coping mechanism, always find the funny side to something.
You have to. Like you said at the beginning of this year, you laugh or you cry, mate. That's it. Simple as that.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sitting on his deathbed. He's there dying, right? I mean, it's the pits. I got my wife dying over there, my father dying over there. And he's in a room, and there's another guy in the room. And these 2 really nice young nurses come in, little young girlies, obviously student nurses. And,
always makes it worth it,
the eyes. Yeah, they come in, and the guy next door is called Arthur, and they draw the curtain because there's a curtain, and they say, "Now come along, Arthur. We're going to give you a little wash now." And Arthur, and you can hear through the curtains, and you can hear the water splashing in the bowl and the rest of it, and then you hear,
Gee whiz.
So I'm thinking, shit. Arthur's had an orgasm. This is what I'm thinking.
That must have been a good wash.
Nah.
Yeah,
He kicked the bucket, mate.
Arthur's had an orgasm, the lucky bastard, right?
Right.
Much I'm not getting any of that. But the two nurses draw the curtain. They come out from behind the curtain, white. He's died.
Oh, jeez.
And he died with a big fat smile on his face because they were watching his nether regions at the time.
Oh, my God.
What a way to die, eh? He
What a
died
way
with
to
a
go,
big
eh?
smile on his face. Yeah, but I mean, can you imagine them trying to get the coffin lid on? I mean, that just have been very difficult. They must have had to break it or something, you know? That's what so you got to always find the funny side to things like this.
Yeah,
So
Well, that would have
literally
been an
half an
easy.
hour-
That would have been an easy place to put the wreaths.
jeez, man.
Yeah, you could play hoopla. Yeah. So anyway, so it's sad but funny. But you know, my adopted father died half an hour later,
Oh, wow.
and you can't believe what goes on in life. So I walked outside, and you know, I'm a believer in God. I'm a Christian, and all the rest of it. People knock me for that. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with people. But so I walked outside. I'm like depressed. I'm thinking, and I'm crying, obviously, you know. And this nurse comes up to me and she puts her arm around me and she says, "It'll be all right." And I said, "What do you mean it's going to be all right? What kind of shit is that?"
Like, the
just
man's
losing
dead, mate.
everything.
How's it going to be fine? Like, you tell me how it's going to be
Right.
fine.
He says, he'll be in heaven soon. His soul will go to heaven soon. I said, "Well, yeah, I suppose so. That's well, you know." I didn't really know what to say.
Yeah.
I was a bit pissed anyway. And I said to her, "So how long is it going to take him to get to heaven?" And she turned around and said, "Oh, about 3.5 hours."
Yeah, right.
I
Yeah, cheers
thought
for
to
that,
myself,
love.
How the fuck does she know it takes 3.5 hours to get to heaven?
3.5.
I mean, what-
That's
what are
very
we on?
specific. Very specific.
Anyway, I shouldn't laugh at these things, but you have to. It's not a lack of respect for religions of the world. It's not a lack of respect for God. It's that I always find my coping mechanism is to find the funny side to something. Because if you're able to laugh, it's a medicine that helps you. Doesn't cure anything. Don't start thinking that's going to cure anything, but it helps you get through the day. And laughter is a medicine because it produces endorphins, which alleviate the brain in the same way that a narcotic would. So if
it's all
you're
natural.
able to laugh, yes, it's a natural narcotic. So if you're able to find laughter, you don't have to lean so much on the dirty shit. And this is something that's very important. I'm touring the UK in the summer, but the story is a very difficult story to recount. So I'm touring the UK with a comedian.
Well, that would lighten the load, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you've got to get a balance on these things because you want people to understand. You know, I have people in tears in the audience, but you ought to got to make them laugh as well because laughter is the big thing. It is a endorphin producing mechanism which allows you to get through today.
100%. 100%.
So there you go.
So like I said.
So 1993, right? Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
1993, like, you know, so my wife's died. My father, we've just buried him as well. Something in fucking hell, you know, life is shit, you know. Sorry about my language, but it's the only way to express things sometimes.
All good.
You might have to bleep it out if you're going to play it to the local nuns or something, but
I hope they listen to our podcast. That'd be great.
Yeah. G'day. So 1993, I'm watching the television. Everybody in my life just died. And it's Christmas time, coming up to Christmas, December the 2nd, 1993. I'm watching the news like you do every day. Put the news on, have something to eat. The kids are playing downstairs. I don't know what they're doing. Fuck. That's the guy.
Pablo Escobar.
He's been shot dead.
On his roof.
So I'm now going, all right. So that really just fucking tops it out for me, doesn't it?
Well, that was my next question
not that
going to
I loved
be.
him or respected him or anything, because he was a total bastard. But
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, oh man, like, is there anything else coming my way? You know,
Compton
happy
trees,
days.
mate. Yep.
Yeah. So 1994 was just a year of, I saw the year through a bottle.
Yeah.
You know, it got so bad that, unfortunately, you know, I'm not embarrassed by any of this shit, right? But it got so bad that my doctor suggested that I volunteer that the children should stay with their grandparents for my late wife's mother and father. They should stay there on the coast of England for the summer holiday. Mm-hmm. And I should go to a unit where I can be looked after and have some respite care. So I agreed to it. I mean, I wasn't sectioned, but I agreed to go. But I mean, basically, I'm off to the loony bin, basically. And it just reminds me of the Jack Nicholson film, you know, like
anger management.
I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to find a big guy and we're going to pull the sink out the bathroom, throw it through the window and escape. Da, da, da. But I made some good friends there. But yeah, it really was an experience queuing up because I've got a little devil in my head. You know, I just like to, you know, I sat next to a guy called Pete, right? You know, when you really got yourself into trouble. I sat in this common room next to a guy called Pete. We're watching the TV. This is in the mental health unit. I said, how you doing, mate? What are you here for? It's like we've been in prison or something. He said, he just turned around to me with his eyes and he said, I killed my parents with an axe. I thought, shit, I need to get out.
I don't belong here, mate.
I need to get out. Ah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I got out of there a bit fast, mate, I could tell you. But not before I sold the Mental Health Trust £1,000 worth of my paintings.
Good on you, mate.
Yeah. I got to make some money out of this. You're going to put me in here, and you're going to buy some of my paintings first. So you could still go there today. I was talking to a guy the other day. He said, you can still go there, and my paintings are on the wall.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, beauty.
Yeah. So anyway, I got out of there, and I had a big belly on me then, you know, like drinking gives you a big belly. And I went to see my doctor, Mr. Patel, because a lot of doctors in the UK are Indians. And very nice guy. Oh, Mr. Whitcomb, what you need is liver scan. I thought, right, okay, off we go. So he sent me to the hospital. You might notice I'm a little bit inappropriate in my commentary, but that's the way I am, and you have to take me the way.
That's all right.
Got to lighten it up the mood.
Our podcast is very well known for being open, and we can talk in any way we want.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help it. That's the way Indians sound. My doctor was like that. He said, you're in big trouble. You need to stop drinking. You need go have liver scans. I went, right, okay, off we go. So I'm sat in the hospital with all the pregnant mothers, right, because we're having ultrasound.
And they're like, how far along are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm sitting there thinking, fuck me, I've got the biggest bump here. So I'm like joking with the women. Oh yeah, it's going to be twins, I think, for me. Twins, yeah. And so like all this joking about, I'm thinking, where else can you sit in a room with a bunch of half-naked pregnant women? Wow, I'm all right here. This is okay. So I go in.
So how old are you here, mate? How old are you here?
Well, this is. Oh, you know, I was so 1993. So. 89, 1990, so 35.
Okay.
Not 35, 36. So to go in there and go to the liver scan thing, and they're doing this thing, and the guy turns around, he says, do you drink? And I said,
Not supposed to.
Yeah. Oh, I only have one little drink in the evening, sir. You know. So because when you're addicted to alcohol or drugs, you immediately become a liar. Okay, so let's be honest about it here, right? The first thing you learn when you're addicted to any kind of drug, alcohol specifically, is when anyone in authority asks you about your problem, you lie to them. You just lie. So they'd say, how much do you drink? You go, oh, it's a gin and tonic once a week. But actually I was drinking 2 bottles of spirits each day.
Wow.
Just to keep the devils away.
Wow. That is a lot.
So the guy says to me, you see these spots on your liver? He said, that's your liver, that thing there. I said, those white spots. I said, yeah, what's that? He said, that is cirrhosis.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, what's that?
It's not good. They're not supposed to be there.
He said, well, it's basically fatty deposits.
Yeah.
He said, it basically means, in a nutshell, sir, that you have a maximum of 2 years to live.
Oh,
Wow.
shit.
So not only has everyone that I love died, but now I'm going to die. So I'm thinking, right. I walked out of there and I wasn't laughing and joking anymore. And I thought, I've got to stop.
So he said
got
if
2
you stop
kids.
drinking, it will repair itself, or you're
No, he didn't
fucked
say
now?
any. No, he didn't say. He just said you're fucked. You got 2 years to live.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, right. I've got these children to live for. They've lost their mother. They've been through a bit of shit. I've got to do this. So I took my gown off, put my clothes on, and I walked straight down the pub. And the barman had lined up a snake bite and a triple rum and coke. That was my usual starter for the day at 11 o'clock.
Wow.
I walked in, I set them aside. I said, Diet Coke from now on, boss.
Wow.
And that was basically something like 25 years ago, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a drink since. But don't get me wrong. I still want to have a drink.
Oh, you're always going to
So-
want to have something that you can't have,
Yeah. So I always tell people I'm actually quite proud of it.
Mhm.
I am an alcoholic, but I don't drink. And people go, what the hell is he on about? What do you mean he's an alcoholic, doesn't drink? Once you get into this thing with the addiction, you will always be susceptible to it. It's the brain, again, remember I said it records, remembers everything. You will always remember the pleasure you had from that, so you'll always want it. So when the wife brings me up a big fat roast dinner, Yorkshire puddings, nice big movie, the fire's on, lovely jubbly. What do you want to do after that? Light up a big fat Henry Winterman cigar and have a big large brandy. Of course you do. But I can't do it. So I go and have a glass of water instead.
Well, yes, very responsible.
But about a month after I gave up drinking, I went to see Mr. Patel again, my doctor. I was really angry with him. I said, and I was swearing at him, I said, Mr. Patel, I said, you told me to drink up now. I've got fucking Parkinson's now. I mean, what are you going to die of? One or the other. I got Parkinson's. He said, no. You got DTs. DTs is very, very good. So, I had like black stuff coming out my skin. My hands were like, you don't realize your skin is full of holes until you give up alcohol and suddenly you got all this shit coming out of everywhere. And it's the body exhuming all the poisons and
Detoxing
toxins.
everything.
Yeah. But of course, I thought I was dying of Parkinson's disease because, I couldn't fucking do anything.
Sit still. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
It's quite useful downstairs, but the rest of it was a bloody waste of time.
Just thick withdrawal.
So
symptoms.
so it was just a very bad withdrawal.
Very. Yeah.
So
Bad. I was actually quite ill. I couldn't function properly. I couldn't drive or anything like that. So it took a long time, long time. I can't tell you exactly, but let's just guess it's something like a year.
Mhm.
That sort of period of time before I started to wake up and see the world.
Yeah.
Try and remember that at this time I'm a single parent. I'm doing the school run. I've got to take this. When I went through this period where I had DTs, I had to put them on a bus, and they went on the bus, and my son cycled to school, his school, and my daughter had to go on the bus because I couldn't drive them to school. I couldn't function properly. It was worse. If I could only just have a couple of drinks, I'd be able to survive the day, and I'd be all right. But the discipline is no, no, no. So, that was really difficult. But I got over it. I mean, I still crave a drink every now and then today, but I got over it.
Wow.
And I'm a big, very unfit fella by this time with a lot of mental health problems. So what did I do? I went down to the local rugby club and said, I want to play rugby again. And they took one look at me and said, you take one run around that pitch, you'll drop dead, you fat bastard. So I said, all right, okay. So I need to get fit. Okay. So I went through the whole summer training and I got fit. I mean, fit. And I turned out to be one of the fittest guys at the local club because I didn't drink or smoke. So now I'm like really fit. I got a waist like this, Marilyn Monroe would have been proud of my waistline. And I started playing rugby again. And it was such a pleasure. I mean, I was shit now. I mean, getting old. So they put me in the thirds, Yep. And then I got my son down to play in the thirds with me on the wing. And it was like I'm the scrum half and my son's on the wing. And we're playing in this rugby. And life was just getting really good. And we got through my children's teenage years together like that.
Oh,
doing the
beautiful,
rugby
mate.
and the sports and the school run and stuff like that. And of course, they're going through all their adolescent problems, which I'm having to deal with, and fighting off blokes who are coming to the door. I want to take my daughter out.
Mate.
You know what it's all about. My son's got all his mates, so all they want to do is go out, get pissed and smoke drugs. I've got that problem as well. But, it's his friends. I made them my friends and they respected me. And so we did things together. The parties were at my house so that I could keep an eye on them. It all started to work quite well. Yeah. I mean, I had a few relationships with a few ladies that perhaps didn't work out as well as they should have done. But we don't need to go down that road. But I'm starting to come out of it now. I mean, I'm still a bit crazy, today, but because you can't get through life and have a straight, but these things have shaped me into the person I am today. And the person I am today has become, in those days, I didn't really care about most people. There was just other people. I've become very compassionate and understanding about the shit that people are going through in life. Because, of course, now I'm the other side and my brain's beginning to remember what's going on. Because you can't remember anything when you're seeing it. I will take my hat off if you don't mind. So now I've basically dedicated my life to earning myself a living out of my artwork, my painting. When I left the mental health unit, they said to me, there are a few things you need to do. One of them, you need to write down all the shit that went on in your life onto bits of paper. Doesn't matter what it is, write it down. I mean, I haven't told you about this yet, but another thing I started writing down. I mean, if I haven't been through enough, right, guys? When I was at school, my housemaster sexually abused me. And he went to prison for that. I did a TV documentary film with some other chaps about sexually abused children at school. Yeah.
Oh,
it was not good.
Have you got that in the book?
It wasn't just. No.
Wow. Okay.
I just thought that was a bit going a bit too far, to be honest with you.
That's crazy.
It is I touch on it in the book.
Okay.
Yeah,
that will be in volume 2.
I don't talk about getting penetrated in the showers and things like that by my housemaster.
Jeez. Oh my God.
I mean, you don't know what that does to you in your head.
Oh, of course.
But with me, it manifests itself in anger, and in my world, I'd have all the pedophiles shot.
100%, without a doubt.
If I was king of the planet, they would be gone.
Wasn't
they'd have
wasn't a
their fair
Catholic
trial.
boarding
They'd have
school
their fair
by any
trial,
chance, was it?
but they'd be no, it's Church of England, but same thing. Organized religions are the vein of our lives because I like the way I like the way that a lot of the indigenous populations of the world deal with their maker and the creator of all things, and they're in touch with, a classic example of the indigenous populations of your country. They have this great relationship with creation and understanding how the land works with the people, and all this sort of thing. So to me, this is more the real religion, understanding the creator and how we were meant to live with the environment that we live in, as opposed to the crap we do today. So basically, on top of all that, I was told, write down your experiences in life, put them down on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be anything fantastic, just scraps of paper. Right. And that will help you get it out, because you're recalling the memories. It's gone. It's out there instead of being trapped in here. So I thought, well, I don't believe all this shit, but I'll do it. So I got these piles of paper and diaries and stuff and wrote it all down, all this shit that went on, and the good stuff and the funny things, when we used to go to Disneyland, and all the great stuff, and all the bad stuff. And then later on in life, all these notes were very useful when I started to write a book.
So at what point did you think, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to write a book? And I know you've been through all what you have been through, but then what inspired you to write this book? And how did you come about it? Was it just like everything you started writing down, and then you thought, fuck it, I can write a book out of this?
Well, first of all, English is my second language, so I can't spell to save my life. I mean, it's a mad language. Why do they put a G and H before a T? I mean, who the hell has decided that? I mean, these people who wrote English they need to be taken out and shot as well. I mean, that was ridiculous. It made it very hard for me, but thank God. No, I mean, it's a very good question, because, there are hundreds of millions of people out there that every life has a story.
Yeah.
And you could write a book, but you think to yourself, whoa, it's just such a massive thing to do, to write a book about your life. I mean, like anybody. So it's much easier to get someone else to do it. But I thought, no, I'm going to do this. But you have to be in the right place. And it took me a long time to be in the right place mentally and physically and all the rest of it. And it wasn't until, years and years and years later that I met a woman that, we had this thing called the internet that started to come out.
Oh, funny
and
that.
My friend and I, my friend and I decided that we were going to go and look on this site where you could find women. Because we got to a stage where we decided we needed to get a woman. Because I actually, wasn't too keen on that for a while, because I was still getting over all my problems.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I'd be very good for any woman in a relationship anyway. So I wasn't in the right place. But anyway, there was this thing called the internet, and you could go on a site called, now what was it called? In those days, it was called Friends Reunited. And you could go on this site and find the old schoolmates and all this stuff and, all that stuff. And on the right-hand side of this page, it had a button called dating. And I thought that this was prostitution.
Oh,
so I thought that you would go on there, right? And you find your local hooker and you give her $30 or whatever it was, and you get it, and then you have a happy time and fine, the oldest business in the world. But he and I sat down one night. Do you remember it was dial up? You had to dial in.
Oh, jeez. What a pain in the ass that was.
Good old days.
You remember all that? Yeah. So anyway, we dial up and go onto this site. And there were women there who we'd seen in the town. I said, they can't all be prostitutes. That one works in the local supermarket behind the deli counter. So I'm thinking, right, maybe this is real. So I put my, my profile up, pictures of me as I was then. And Obviously, I got a million replies immediately, as you would. And basically, it ended up in me meeting the woman I'm married to today, all those years later. And this is, and she was a nurse. And one day I just said to her, look, what the hell are you doing? Going to work every day, slogging it out, getting abused, and I don't know what, because nursing is a difficult business. You get people shout at you and all sorts of stuff in the hospital. I said, you don't need all this shit, right? I can paint from wherever I am. So why don't we go and move somewhere? You retire, we go and move somewhere. So it was between Florida, which I knew quite well from my childhood, as you know, and this other place I'd been to, Mallorca, which is a lovely paradise island in the middle of the Mediterranean and a big holiday resort. So she wanted to stay in the same time zone as her grandchildren and the Western. So I went, okay. So we moved to, basically, I mean, I'm cutting the story very short, but we moved to Mallorca about, goodness me, 12, 13, 14 years ago. And I started to get in the right place. I mean, I'd got a house in my studio. I'm selling my paintings. Right. I'm in the right place now. I reckon I could take the pace. I'm going to write a story about my life. Once upon a time, no. It was a Thursday, no. Boom, boom, boom. And I went like this for a long, long time. I mean, a good, I don't know, 10 years.
So 10 years it took you to write what we see as a finished product.
No. It took me about 10 years to start the book because I didn't know how to start it. I don't know how to write a book. I mean, what the hell? We're just ordinary people. If I said to you, write yourself a book today, you're like, oh, shit, where do I start? So it ended up with the starting, apart from all the introduction, it started with I had two fathers.
Okay.
And that's how I started the book. Because I thought, yeah, that's a good way to start the book. And I got there and had two fathers. Eureka! That's it. I'm on my way.
It took you another 5 years to figure out everything else.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah. So anyway, I thought I would write it in the first person tense, like my personal experiences, but through the eyes of a child experiencing those things. So some things were recanted in a childish way because that's, child sees things in that way. And I wanted to bring out the amusing side of my life because there were some very funny things happened in my life as well. And I just started writing. And I thought, when was that? And you suddenly realize when you're writing a story about your life that you don't know a lot about what happened and when it happened. So you have to do all this research. Thank God we had the internet because I could then look up stuff. And so I started researching stuff, dates, because when you write a story, you've got to get the dates right. And in my book, I've got all the dates right. And so I had all these bits of paper. I thought, wow, that was going to be quite good. I'll make sure I'll use all that. So all these bits of paper became very useful to me. And I also got a massive box of photographs because in those days we had photographs. You remember a box of photographs? And so I had all these pictures of my childhood, men with guns and stuff. I thought, whoa, this is going to be useful. And so I started to write the book, and I started at the beginning because I thought I don't know how to write a book. I start at the beginning, work my way through it. And every time I'd done a chapter or a paragraph, I'd run out to the garden and say, Julie, I've written another paragraph. What do you think? And she'd go, you can't say disembarking 6 times in the same sentence. You've got to come up with a different word. I went, oh, God. Yeah. So it was quite difficult. But I realized, actually, as I got into it, that it was actually a very therapeutic thing to do. So I wasn't that bothered whether it would be published or not. And then years later, I got to about 80,000 words, basically. And I mentioned it to someone that I'd gone to school with, and he went to the bloody newspapers. So that was that. Once the newspapers get hold of it, you really are,
Now you need to get your ass into gear.
Well, then I had publishers phoning me up. We want this. We want to do it. We want this. This is the most amazing, yada, 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 yada. And this was just before lockdown. And, I handed over we did a contract and all the rest of it. And I handed over the manuscript. and these people published my book.
Wow.
And they put me on a PR program thing where I was doing like 10 interviews a day for a month, and with all people all around the world. I did Good Morning Australia, G'day Roberto, South Africa, Canada, USA, fucking India, you name it. I've done the interviews, and it was all right. But and I thought, thank God I've moved to Mallorca. God, a lot of people said it'd be a security issue. And my agent at the time said to me, when you cracked it, son, he said, because he was a Londoner, when you cracked it, mate, because you have your own personal group of trollers. Yeah. So I've got my personal group of trollers that troll me, and
so with the
like
release of this book, has it bought out anyone that was linked to your biological father?
Yeah, that's a great story. It's brought out, and I have to be a little bit careful about how much I say here, but let's put it this way. Members of the British Secret Service have been in touch. They're very nice, very friendly, and we keep in touch on a regular basis. We're like pals, I've had them down here for a barbecue.
Yeah, right.
They were like mates with your adopted father?
I recently found an old chap who is a bit younger than me, so I didn't meet him personally in Colombia, but his father worked with my adopted father in the Secret Service operation in Colombia.
Oh, wow.
And he's died, but his mother, who I met when I was a child, and him and other members of his family are going to come to one of my shows in the UK, because it's just like freaky, amazing. Because when we left Colombia, they got the same bodyguards and security people that I did. I've met quite a few people. I had a guy contact me almost immediately from Hereford to say that, because Hereford is where the SAS are stationed, and he said to me, "Oh yeah, my father was in the SAS. He was in Colombia, blah blah blah, working with your father, blah blah blah." And I know that MI6 used to have SAS people down there to help them with because they would be the hammer, if you like, the people that produce the guys with the guns and that. And yes, you're right. A lot of people come out the woodwork. Some members of my Colombian, I don't have anything to do with my Colombian family, because they're not people to be proud of, if you like, from what they've got up to in those days. I have half siblings. One who I'm talking to, I have a good relationship with, because Pablo Escobar had a lot of kids. Don't listen to any of that shit you hear about. Oh yes, I'm the only one, So there's the guy who was famous for being his son, who's younger than me, and he trashes me all over the world because he's worried about the inheritance, basically. I don't want any of the inheritance, but the intellectual property rights. You got to try. I mean, I'm going to touch on this very carefully, but you got to remember that when he died, there was no will. And in Colombia, without a will, the eldest son inherits everything. So my uncle, who was his accountant, went to prison. I was named after him, Roberto Escobar. He's now living in Medellin doing tours. I don't know what the hell he's doing. But there's a big struggle over the intellectual property rights to my father's name because of the Netflix series, and it's made it worth a lot of money. So they're all like, fighting over that bullshit. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I have my own intellectual property rights, my book, TV series we're going to do, whatever it is we're going to do, it's all there. But I like to focus on, I'm not that interested in what my real father did. All we know is he was a mass murdering total bastard that is responsible for a lot of misery and, well, a lot of shit, even the knock-on effects are happening today. But and I want to get into that in a documentary series, which I think we're going to be talking about soon. But I'm trying to focus on the good things. So when I go on tour, I tour with this comedian, and we'll hit a city like Manchester, for example, and we'll do 2 or 3 venues of say 500-600 people. and we'll cover our costs and a small fee because, we all got to work. But all the profit to that will go to the local charity in that city to help homeless people alleviate the pain of homelessness. There's not enough money to buy them a house or whatever, but homelessness is a big problem around the world, and most of it is because of serious mental health problems caused by a series of events that have then led to the use of pain-killing narcotics and abuse of alcohol, which then leads to the life going to shit, which means then you end up on the street. Once you're on the street, you can't avail yourself of the local charity who want to help you and give you a room, because there's a woman behind the desk saying, well, you can come in here, sir, but you're not allowed to drink, you're not allowed to smoke, you've got to go to bed at 7 o'clock, doors are locked at 11. They have all these rules, and of course you don't want to abide by those rules because you've got problems. So that creates homelessness, drug abuse. It's a nightmare. So we're trying to alleviate some of the pain of that. We'll never conquer it all, but that's what the tour is about. We're going to try and so the profits from those tours go straight to those charities. And that's turning the shit that my father did into something good. And that's, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die happy having done that.
Are you going to tour Australia, mate, or?
Yeah.
When do you plan
There's
on coming?
talk of it.
When do you?
I was talking to promoters earlier on today. It's planned for October, but there's nothing concrete yet. So let's just watch that space.
Well, make sure you come to Adelaide, because Adelaide always gets skipped over, mate.
Well, Roberto and I have had a little bit of a chat.
Beautiful.
About setting some stuff up.
Beautiful.
So yes, that talk's in progress.
I'd like to, obviously without details because there aren't any, but I'd like to talk a little bit about mental health issues that are affecting indigenous populations around the world.
Yes.
Through the overpowering, we're not responsible for it, but it's not our fault. But basically, a lot of indigenous populations have got pushed out and neglected and abused, and it's caused a lot of substance abuse and mental health problems. And I really want to highlight that and try and do something about it using the tool of a TV series, of a documentary TV series, which you and I have had loose discussions about.
Yeah.
So just I'm just going to use the TV series now because there's a pressing question that someone has sent in asking us to ask you this. What, and I know you sort of touched on it, and I know you said you really don't have anything to do with it, nor do you care about it, but the popularity of the Netflix TV series Narcos. Tell me, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, obviously it's a Netflix series, so it's not always going to be a depiction of the real truth. But what are your thoughts about it?
Well, look, I mean, it's what set Netflix onto the path they're on today. I mean, that series gave them the cash flow to do all the other amazing things that they've done since. But you got to remember, it's Hollywood, right? So Hollywood do a couple of things. They're very political. It's a very small political town, or tinsel town. So anything they do, it's like we got Escobar, right? The Americans did it. Okay, they always paint that picture in Hollywood because Hollywood is a political wing. So you have to understand that. You don't have to understand that, but I understand that. So I can't criticize it for that because that's what it is. They use a lot of these things for politics, and it's all gone a bit woke now. But but Narcos itself has been a very successful TV, let's say, fictional TV drama series about a true life person. What annoys me about Narcos, but I have to accept that it's made, but it's a story that was made. It's good. The thing is, Narcos starts, and any of you have seen it. It starts at the beginning, and the guy is about 23 years old. I don't know. I'm guessing he's an adult, and he's threatening these border guards on a bridge, and he's telling them how he knows where they live and all the rest of it. So he's already an established thug drug dealer. contrabandist at the beginning of Narcos. And Narcos is a bit propaganda-ish. It's like, here's the bad guy and we got him. And it's like it paints the Americans to be wonderful people. How they managed to get him, like like they managed to track down, like they managed to get Saddam Hussein all by themselves. And the British didn't help at all, did they? So basically, you have to accept that, and it's entertaining. In my view, it doesn't portray Pablo Escobar Gaviria in such he was a lot more evil than Narcos made him out to be. And I think that's because Narcos were very conscious of the audience, and they didn't want to quite, when he was in the Catedral, okay, in that prison, okay, he had a busload of whores brought over quite regularly, but they were all like 13, 14-year-old girls. He was really into 13, 14-year-old girls. My mother was 13 when he got her pregnant. Okay, he was very young, but what the hell. Juan Pablo's mother, who wrote a book about it, about her life, his wife, she says in her book he raped her when she was 12. This guy was a bloody pedophile and he's into kids, into young girls. But worse than that, these girls, to make sure none of them got pregnant after they'd done what they had to do with them, he'd have them take them out the back and killed.
Oh, jeez.
Right? You see, so the problem with, one of the problems with the TV series is that it's a bit lenient on the description and depiction of the guy, the real guy, who was a real nasty piece of work. I get it all the time. Oh, well, he gave to the poor. Didn't he buy everybody houses? No, mate, listen. First of all, he was laundering money. And secondly, he was buying his local population's loyalty so that they would vote for him. And then he did become a member of the House of Parliament because they voted for him.
The man owned the local police force.
Like most of the country, not the local police force.
Like
most of the
he pretty much owned the country. Well,
this is what people believe, but the real people in charge in Bogota, they had him seen off because they wouldn't have that. What Narcos portray. The thing is, right, you got to remember this, the Americans want to make it out that they got this guy and they were fantastic at how they did it and all the rest of it. And they did play a big part in this. But they want to make it a big political statement about how great the American services are and all the rest of it. So they have to paint this guy as a bigger threat than he was. He was actually just a thug. And the only way he could deal with things was to have people killed. And he'd pay a local kid $200 and give him a gun and say, go and shoot that mine over there. And that'd be it. It wasn't like the sophisticated drug lord thing is a Hollywood thing. This guy is a thug, but because he's able to manage a lot of his product through Panama, because he had help through MI6, the MI6 operation and Noriega, they were working together. You can look all this up. I'm not making it up. They turned him into one of the more successful of them. I mean, there's a recent film out of Griselda who was just as bad as him. She had thousands of people killed.
Yeah, I saw that.
These people are not sophisticated engineers. They're thugs, and if you say no to them, they have you killed. It's that simple. It doesn't take, And so when the Americans say we took him out, it's very much more complicated than that. And he didn't own the country, but he was able, because of his money, to buy most people's loyalty for a period of time in that period.
Wow.
Wow. Bloody hell.
Yeah. So to answer the question, what do I think of Narcos? It's a very successful TV series, Hollywoodized, and doesn't really portray him as evil as he really was.
Yeah, I guess, like you said before, a lot of the world has gone woke now, and when they do, I guess, documentary type series for entertainment, they have to be very careful with what they do because they're too worried about backlash and all that. Yeah. I mean, perfect example of Hollywood. Recently they announced that they were going to make a Cleopatra movie, and they were going to depict Cleopatra as a black woman, right? And
I'm surprised. I'm surprised they haven't decided to depict her as a black trans heterosexual homosexual.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
self-identifying.
you want to make a movie on history, then do it right. The Cleopatra was a white woman who,
Yeah. Well,
anyway.
she probably had a decent suntan, but
well.
I know what you mean. No, I'm very much for trying to correct that balance. And this is why, if you and I work together with a production company and we talk about mental health and we talk about all the other things, we're going to readdress a few issues relating to my real father, because and it might be shocking, but you get a big audience. The fact is that some of the things he did is not out there because it's too shocking. If you were one of his mules, right, and you worked for the local chapter of his organization and you didn't deliver what you were told to deliver to the corner, right, your mother would get a postcard delivered under the door with the commiserations of your son's death. We're sorry to hear about your son's death. Of course, he hasn't died yet. There'd be a date on it and a time, and that would be when he was going to be killed. And what they would do is they'd take you to this mother's house in the street, and they would sit you down, tie your hands down behind your back, and they would very carefully slice open your neck, not to kill you. And then they would pull your tongue out and hang it over your chest, and you would slowly drown over about a couple of hours. And this was called a Colombian necktie. And this was a way of telling people that if you disobey the local chapter of the cartel, this is what's going to happen to you. These things are not portrayed in Hollywood, but they damn well should be portrayed somewhere, or at least discussed, because people revere these people. We've got to remember that these are sections. People in society think that Al Capone was actually quite a nice guy. I mean, they're just like, what's wrong with you? But we can touch on this matter as well. I mean, if you make something illegal, right, because with your good intentions, you want to get rid of it, what you are actually doing is you create these criminals. Society tried this with the biggest drug, which is alcohol, and it didn't work. Created Al Capone and all the other master criminals, and it all just went underground. So what did they do with alcohol? Well, they licensed it and tried to control it. But you can't stop humans using something that blows their brains out because they love it, right? So you've got to just come to terms with that and tax it, and use some of the money for good. There's no other way to deal with it, really.
Yeah.
So I just want to go back, right? So at 24, you find out this is your real father. So at that time, like you were saying, there was no real big... you can just look that up. You just have to rely on what you're seeing in the news and all that sort of stuff. So from the age of 24 to 1993 where he got killed, did you ever meet him again? Or no, you never did?
No.
So never met him as an adult?
The last time I saw my real father, the picture in the book of it, was on the tarmac at Medellin airport the morning after I'd met him at the hotel, and this was in 1976. So I hadn't physically seen him after that at all, and I hadn't spoken to him either. So my memories of him are from that period backwards. But as an adult, I started to get curious. But I mean, what have I got? The library. I mean,
yeah, that's right. So when did you realise from that time? So when you, I don't know.
Dad said to me, my adopted father said, he's a drug lord, and I thought, drugs. Let me think. I've heard about this. This is narcotics. Okay. Yeah. But you still don't quite get into your head. You don't realise how big this is. You still hadn't quite worked it out. Yeah.
So when did you then figure out, who he was? When did it click for you? When did you think, fuck, that's
mainly
in
93, Mainly, it didn't actually hit. I mean, you get bodyguards and everything at the house. I'm thinking, shit, this must be a big thing, dangerous, la la la. But it doesn't really absolutely hit home until I see his death on the news, because
After
I
the
tried to
fact.
forget about it.
Yeah.
And then I see his death on the news, and I thought, okay. And because it started coming out about the kind of person he was, news clips and stuff like that, I'm thinking, right, okay.
So it'd be like the
That's not good.
mid-90s to the early 2000s, really, you wrapped your head around it, like, wow, he was that big.
Well, I'm trying to actually get rid of it. So it's not me trying to get involved. I'm trying to get out of my head and forget about it.
Yeah.
I need to do the school run. I got to get on with this. I got to get on with my work. I got to do this. I got to do that. My whole life's full of stuff. So I don't really want to be thinking about this bloke. You know, who the fuck is this bloke? But, you know, you have to come to terms with things that happened in the past. Obviously I started... I was more able to get into it when the internet started coming to the fore, and I was able to do my research without it costing me a fortune. And my adopted father died, and you know, all this stuff, and I was just coming to terms with all that. And then we started getting this internet, and I started doing research, and it started to become quite apparent what I'd managed to escape from. Because you know, I don't know, if I'd stayed there, I might have ended up inheriting the family business.
So
I think I would have been quite a good drug lord.
So with all that, like you were saying, with the whole there's Paul with the whole inheritance thing, and do you have you said you did have with one of your half siblings, but the ones do you have anything to do with any of the others?
No, because they're on the side of the trollers. Well, no, my half sister isn't. She keeps very quiet. But yeah, I don't want to really get into that. But no, it's all right. It's okay. I don't have nothing to hide. But you know, I'm trying to say good things about people, and I find it very difficult to say anything good about the famous half brother, because he's not very nice to me, and I just, when people are not nice to me, I just shut the door and get on with my life. So the problem is not cash. I mean, all the cash has been found, basically. It's intellectual property. Intellectual property is worth a lot of money. After the Narcos series, suddenly the intellectual property of our father, who art not in heaven, who art in hell, the intellectual property of our father is worth a lot of money. I'm not interested in it, but I'm a threat to them because I'm the eldest son, and they'll do their absolute best to try and disprove or fiddle with the DNA samples, do anything to just to try and make sure that but fortunately I don't want to get involved anyway. So, you know, help yourself, lads. I don't want to know. But you know, I'm quite happy. I've written my book and I make a living out of my paintings, and my book went to #2 in the world straight away. You know, it was like massive. Obama, who's that?
So have you been back? Have you been to Colombia?
No, we can't go back to Colombia. Are you kidding? Half the country love you for who your father was, and the other half want to kill you.
Yeah.
No. Can't go back to Colombia. I mean, one of my half brothers went to Colombia to do a documentary series, but you can't go through the airport, normal shit. He snuck through in a car through one of the jungle roads, and they did this and that and the other, and then snuck back out again. I mean, you can't just walk through the door and say, you know, customs and all the rest of it. No. Fortunately, my adopted father saw all this coming. And he adopted me and got me British nationality. And when I travel, I use my adopted name so that I don't have to bring the Vaseline and keep pulling my trousers down.
Yeah.
But people don't recognize you from your face, from your looks.
Well,
that
yeah,
doesn't
they
help.
do now. But,
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do? I mean, you know. I went through a period of, so all my life I've had a moustache and my hair like this, right, from when I was a young adult. And then I went through this period of denial. I thought, if I shave my moustache off, no one will know who I am. Like some big disguise. So this is when I was going through a bit of mental health problems. And I thought, I'm going to shave my moustache off. No one will recognize it. But and it kind of worked. But then when the publishers got involved and we got the book going, and that said,
Bring the
you've got to be
moustache
who
back.
you are.
Bring the moustache
Well,
back.
be who you are. Be who you are. Don't be in denial. You've always been who you are. Be who you've always been, and be honest. I don't prepare for interviews. I've not prepared for this interview, right? I don't want to know who's going to ask me a question. I prefer it to be honest from the heart, from here, about my life. So be who you are. This is one of the things you've got to do when you've got been through these things and you've got some mental health illness. Because look, we've all got mental health, otherwise we're dead, right? It's the mental health illnesses that are the problems, and they are there. They become apparent because we've had all these problems. And one of the things you have to do is you have to be absolutely honest about you, yourself, and your life. There's no good hiding shit, which is why I absolutely do not prepare for my show. I get on the stage, I'm going, here we go, right? And we open it to the audience and they can ask me anything, you know. Someone asked me, how much money have you got in the bank?
That's a little bit personal, isn't it?
Very personal.
Yeah.
So how much
Someone
money
asked
do
me
you
how
have
big
in the bank?
Yeah, someone said, how big is your cock?
Oh, gee whiz, all right. How do you prepare for that?
Do you know what would your answer be if they asked you that on stage?
Oh, mate, I don't know.
Average and girthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Big enough.
My answer was, have you got £10,000 on you? Because if you have, you can come backstage later and measure it. If you haven't got £10,000 on you, fuck off.
So how much of that secret stash over in Spain did you end up, taking back with you?
Here it is.
This is not a plug, all right? It's not a plug, but it is a plug, but it isn't really a plug, all right?
Now, about the book, this is a question I wanted to ask you earlier.
No, this is the special edition, and I'm just answering your question. So, how much of that stash and all the rest of it. First of all, it's laundered drugs money. So if I touch it, I'm going to prison, right?
Right.
I'm not going to touch it. All right. So, but I have worked out a lot about where he's hidden that money. And I thought, I'm going to put it in a special edition, not a separate book that's different, but a part of the same story. And I write another 6 chapters talking about how I found out what those piece of paper he gave me on his deathbed meant and what it was. And I have discovered a lot and where some of the money is. It's not money, it's in bullion. And I just thought, I'm going to put it in a special edition. I'm going to give people a tease. I'm going to let them find out how to read this Pigpen cipher code, because my adopted father turned out to be a Freemason, and so on. And so I thought I'd put it in a second special edition book so people can find out for themselves. And that's basically it.
Right. So now about the book, because I've been not reading but listening to your book.
This book?
That's right.
That's
the
the
Son
one.
of Escobar.
That's the one. That's the one.
This one, you mean?
Yeah, that exact one. That exact one.
So I've been.
Oh, you mean that one, do you?
Yeah, no. Show us again.
And I think you mean this. I mean, I didn't know which one you meant. Do you mean this one or did you mean that one?
That one. So
all right, that's it for that.
So I've been listening to the book, right? And obviously written by you, but narrated by Will Huggins.
No idea who that is.
Okay, good. Because my question is, whoever, I was going to ask, did you pick him? Obviously, you don't know who it is.
No.
He is the most boring as batshit narrator I've ever heard. I was telling Stamati the other day, I go, mate, I went for a 3-hour drive into a place in the Riverland here in South Australia. It's about 3 hours away. And I said, all right, I'm gonna listen to the book on the way up. I'm sorry, but when I got to about chapter 4, I go, nah, this guy's voice is putting me to sleep. There is no emotion or anything. And there's a part where he tries to put on a female voice when he's talking about your adopted mother and how she was making drinks and pouring for, for your adopted father. And I go, mate, my 6-year-old kid could do better voices than this bloke.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, the guy, whoever it is, what happened is my original publisher, right? They went off, did all this shit. And obviously they skimped a bit and didn't pay someone. I wanted them to get me to read the book. Right.
That would have been awesome.
But I said, I ain't doing it for free. You got to pay me.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sun newspaper paid me to go and do an interview. You got to pay. But they're tight asses and they wouldn't do it. So I eventually got rid of them. We had a reversion contract done by lawyers, and I got shot of them. So I've got the publishing rights back in my name, and that's why I published the book in my name. Yep. So the audio you're listening to is the cheap stuff that they had done. And well, what can you do? I mean, you're right. It needs to be read with some feeling. Can
you re-record it with your own voice?
I could do it, but I mean, Pablo Escobar was the most notorious drug lord the world has ever seen. He became one of the 10 richest men on the planet and controlled over 80% of the global cocaine trade before he was shot dead in 1993.
Well, there you go.
Got to read with some
two
feeling.
Sentences and I'm already captured.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah,
the other voice is like I would have been fast asleep by now.
Yeah, but you have to read it. This story opens with 2 helicopter gunships filled with heavily armed Colombian Special Forces personnel, led by an MI6 agent flying into a small village on the outskirts of Bogota in Colombia. The secret mission to recover a stolen cash hoard culminates in a bloody shootout with a group of Pablo Escobar's violent gangsters. Several of the men escape, including a young Escobar.
There you go.
That's how you read my book.
Mate.
And this guy reads the book. The story opens with 2 helicopter gunships filled with heavily armed Colombian Special Forces personnel led by and you think to yourself, mate, I'm just going to go out the back and shoot myself.
Oh, mate, you know what? I think you bloody better re-record it and
well,
you get a lot more listens.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like...
The time.
No, I think maybe we should just get some special signed editions of the book and just read it in our own voice and use our imagination.
Now that would be funny.
Yeah,
I got to try and get an Australian accent going and practice it and do some Aussie reading,
So yeah, g'day guys. There was a couple of choppers at the front there.
Yeah, there was a bloody great shootout, mate. And some little fucking goddamn. And I like to do the American one, take the piss out of the Americans. That's quite good. I like that. I like taking the piss out of the Americans. Let's do Joe Biden.
Yeah, but
what happened?
Joe Biden doesn't even know who he is, mate. He doesn't even know who he is.
Hey, question. Who do you think's going to win the US elections end of the year?
Well, hands down, Donald Trump by a mile.
100%.
And the reason why he's going to win, right, is not complicated. You know why he's going to win? Because he's more popular.
Yeah.
It's that simple. The trouble is that the world is now turning into the woke society over there who think they can save the planet by driving around in electric cars. And then the real people like us who tell it like it is.
Yep.
Right? And the society's dividing into 2 sort of sections in the first world. I'm not talking about and so there's this kind of cultural battle going on with the sort of weird people in the middle. I shouldn't say it like that, but that's the way I think. And so that is an issue that Donald Trump has hooked himself onto. He says, look, guys, right? Okay, forget all this other stuff. America first. are going to open up the factories, the coal mines, and get you all working, right? That's what we're going to do here, right? We're going to stop that. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then, when they vote for him, he actually does it.
Yeah. It's just keeping it simple, isn't it?
A politician. Yeah, I was talking to a politician about the Scottish referendum, because apparently the Scottish have got some idea of wanting to separate from the United Kingdom and become some part of Europe. So
are they planning another one, are they? I
don't know, but I said, hey, the Romans had it right. They built a wall. They called it Hadrian's Wall. I said, what we need to do, let's build the wall up again. And guess what? We'll get the Mexicans to pay for it.
Oh, when he said that, I was like, far out, mate, this bloke.
Get the Mexicans to pay for it. I mean, look, I've never met Donald Trump. I would imagine he's probably a bit of a narcissistic nutter, but he will be good for the economy of the country because he understands economics. He knows how to make money. And so he'd be good for the economy. He won't be very good for, I don't know, things like the abortion rights and these sort of things. And but he'll get the country through this very difficult period with the Russia thing, because he'll just pick up the phone and do a deal. With
the Russian president that won by a majority landslide of 87% today.
Yeah, but if you put the news on in the BBC, right, it's like, oh, well, he fiddled the votes and nobody wants him to win and all the rest of it. Listen, guys, if you want to see what democracy and work looks like, yeah, of course there's protest. Of course. It's democracy. People are going to say, boo, we don't want you, we don't want you. You're going to get that, right? And if they get out of order, of course, the Russians are a little bit heavy, but, they deal with it. You and you in the back. But the guy runs his country. He's the fastest growing economy in the world. And the America is shot to shit. Half the people dying of this new narcotics drug, what's it called? It's a crystal something or other that's going on.
Crystal meth.
Very serious. There's something really serious problem going on in America that they've not talked about a lot, and in Canada they're just all like zombies around the street dying, and it's a very serious drug problem going on now. America's falling to pieces, and it's a shame, because when you see a beast like that in its dying phases, it becomes more angry and more dangerous. That America is actually in a very serious problem, and you need a strong center or right politician to pull that together. Otherwise, you'll end up with a divided country and a civil war. So they need to be very, very careful. So someone like Donald Trump will come along, and it'll be controversial. It'll be great for us because the news will be fantastic. It'll be something drama every day. But he'll pull the country together for a bit.
Yeah.
And he'll stop spending all this. I mean, the trillions of dollars that have gone into this war. The Americans are willing to fight the Russians to the last Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not willing to, the thing is, right, he didn't need this war in the beginning. No. Look, I've got a German neighbor, right? I mean, I live on a farm in the middle of nowhere, but I've got a German neighbor, right? And the Germans can be a bit, funny about their land and their fences and all that shit going on, right? And if he starts anything funny, like pushing the boundaries or whatever, I'm not going to start shooting at him. I'm going to go around to him and say, come round for a coffee, let's talk.
Yep.
Let's do a deal. Do a deal.
I'll give you a couple of paintings if you just relax.
Yeah. And well, no, I'll sell you a couple of paintings at half price. Come on. But you got to do a deal with these people. You got to do a deal. You got to negotiate. You do a deal. You and I sit down and we vote for these twats who go and sit in the Houses of Parliament. Their job is to negotiate on our behalf. It's not their job to get us killed, right? Yeah. And this is something that Donald Trump is good at. He's good at negotiating with people. He's good at doing a deal, in the back room, smoke-filled cigars, smoke-filled rooms, let's do a deal, right? All this stuff. So he'll be able to deal with that. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the current Ukrainian regime was going to have to, they're going to have to retire. But that problem will be resolved. I do a lot of help with war-torn. I was at a meeting yesterday, actually, a group of people, and we're trying to help. Because we live on a holiday island, which is paradise. We're organizing. It's costing a few quid, but we're raising the money to do it. I nearly said funny money. I mean money to give war-torn children who've lost their parents and everything, and they're in orphanages like I was, to give them a holiday. So we bring them over in groups of 20 with all their Red Cross people and the nurses and all the rest of it, between the ages of 5 and 6 to 10 maybe, and bring them out to Mallorca and give them a really nice holiday. So it alleviates a bit of the pain. Alleviates a bit of the pain for a while, Doesn't resolve the issues, but,
very good.
Can't
At
bring
least,
our parents
at least
back,
we
but-
know that if we ever want to go to a paradise island for a holiday, we've got somewhere to stay.
Yeah, it's it, mate.
Yeah, I've got a good friend with a hotel down the road. What do you think? You're coming here?
Now, we got to slowly start wrapping this up because, our subscription to Spotify podcast doesn't allow us to really go more than like 2.5 hours or something.
You guys have got no stamina. That's your problem.
No, we could talk all night. It's more like,
Yeah.
unless we make this like a part 2 or 3 series or something,
we could do.
We could always come
I think
back
we
and do a second part.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, get people to talk, ask questions, and then you write them down, and we'll tackle the issues.
Well, we had a couple of people who are very close to our podcast, one being our sponsor, Ben Stewart.
Yeah.
So he has a little company here in Adelaide that cleans and shines up your really expensive sports shoes.
Oh, I thought you said money.
Yeah, I wish I had that black money that he could clean for me.
So he cleans your shoes, does he?
Yeah, so your American kicks and all that type of sneakers and that type of stuff, like Jordans and Gucci's, all that type of high level stuff.
Yeah.
So his name's Ben Stewart, and he's a very big fan of you. He's read your book 3-4 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's absolutely infatuated, and he unfortunately.
I got a challenge for you, Ben. Hold on. Here's the deal for you.
Let me get this on camera because he's a good mate of mine. So let's have a listen to this request.
Go for it.
Let's go for
Ben,
it, mate.
are you there? I got a challenge for you, Ben. Let's do this together, right? Let's put out a Roberto Sendoya Escobar trainer or a sneaker, all right, with my face on it and all the rest of it. You can design it and do it how you want, all right? And the money from that, we pay the cost of making the shoe or whatever, and the money, all the rest of the money, we put into mental health charities in Australia.
That sounds like
what do you
plan.
reckon?
That sounds like a plan, mate.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like
Right,
a plan.
because I think that whatever we do in life, okay, yeah, we've all got to make some money, pay the bills, keep the staff on the yacht happy. But, if we're going to do some good, let's use like intellectual property like mine is very good. I mean, you can do an RSC Escobar trainer or a sneaker, and it'll sell millions around the world, and we can use the money to really make a difference in an area of mental health issues or anything like that. It'd be really nice to help the indigenous population of Australia, some of the problems they're suffering at the moment. I really want to tackle these issues, but all these things need money. So, come on, let's see if we can do something.
Let's go,
Come on,
Benny.
guys.
Let's do it.
Done. So yeah, can you give Benny a bit of a shout out? Just Ben Stewart from
big fan.
Lush Clean Kicks.
Big fan.
Hey, Benny, from the Last Clean Kicks. Very good company.
He's gonna love that. He's gonna love that.
Excellent. Now we did have a couple of questions as well.
Yeah, I did
He does
incorporate
his
it.
deal. I'll do some free advertising for him.
Oh, beautiful. No, I did incorporate it into the interview, but there was this one that Ben had for you. If you had the opportunity to ask Pablo Escobar 3 questions, what would it be and why?
Oh my God. Yeah. Funny enough, I've been asked a few questions, but nearly like that, but not like that. So I just need to get that. Am I asking him the questions now as an adult, or am I asking him the questions when I was a young kid, or how old am I when I'm asking these
As
questions?
an adult, like you know everything. You know everything
Yeah.
now. You're a lot smarter,
And
wiser.
he's still alive.
And he's still alive.
Yeah, and he's still alive. He's gone to prison and he's come out 25 years later.
Yeah,
And
whatever.
he's sitting like my uncle, his brother, and he's sitting there. And I've got to ask him some questions.
Like that's been burning for you.
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck did you do this, or why did you do that? You know, anything like that.
Top 3 questions
Top
you
3
would ask him.
questions and why.
If right now you were sitting across the table, he was drinking tequila and you were having a coffee because you don't drink.
Or a water.
What? Yeah. I'll probably have a coffee. Yeah. This is actually very difficult to come up with something instantaneous in my head. But one of the questions I would ask him is, why didn't he make some kind of arrangement so I could live with him and his family? Why did he try this violent route to kidnap me back? Why didn't he why did he let me go? Because when that shootout came, he did a runner with a couple of his mates. Of course, he probably would have got shot. I don't know. If they hadn't come out shooting and just put their hands up and handed the money over, my mother wouldn't have died then. And all this stuff. So
could have changed the course of history, really.
It changed the course of history of quite a lot of part of Colombia and a lot of things. Yeah. The invasion of Panama by Americans wouldn't have happened, and all sorts of things like that. Yeah. And I suppose the other thing I might ask him if he was alive today is why have you just hidden the money? You've come out of prison. You've hidden all these hundreds of millions in walls and other places in your houses and all the rest of it. Why are you not doing some good with it to try and make reparations for the bad things you did in life? That's probably one of the things. And if you don't want to do it, I'll do it for you. It's up to you. Yeah. But that's something. I do think that I would want to. I can't give you the actual question because I can't get it out of my mouth. But I'd want to tackle the issue of his penchants for young girls, and I'd want to tackle that. It'd probably be more of a long-term conversation where I'd want to get him to admit certain things and try and get him to break. You got to break his spirit first to get him to talk about these things, and so it wouldn't be a one-off question. But I'd want to talk to him about that because that's almost nastier than just shooting people. It's something that I would really want to tackle him about. But it's more about tackling him. I was asked a question by the Bulgarian national paper in an interview like this. She said to me, she had an interpreter, but she said to me, if you were a high court judge and your father was brought before you today for all the crimes that he committed in life, what would your sentence be if he was found guilty? And I said, public hanging.
Yep.
Because the public need to see what happens if you behave like this, and he needs to be got rid of.
Yeah.
And a hanging is a good punishment. And the next day, she rang me up and said, we've never sold so many papers in our life. And she sent me a copy, and it said, Pablo Escobar's son sentenced his father to death.
Oh, geez.
Oh, wow.
So that was a bit of a thing. But I'm happy to answer these questions. And answers might be a bit more long, complicated because these things are much more complicated than just asking 3 questions. But there would be that. My father had many affairs with many women.
Yeah.
But he had a famous affair with a young girl called Virginia Vallejo.
Yep.
And Virginia and I went to school together at the Anglo-Colombian school. She was in the senior. She was leaving and I was joining as a junior. And my godfather, Don Gregorio, who was the boss of Colombia, the real boss, he was president of everything, and he was also president of the school. And Virginia went on later to be, she was a bit of a socialite. She had a what have you, and a newspaper and this and that. And she went on to have an affair with Pablo Escobar Gaviria when he was older. It started off with an interview, and then she had an affair. And then she wrote a book later called Loving Pablo, Hating Escobar. And then she turned state's evidence because she found out a lot about the organization. And she now lives in Miami under police protection. And I actually only spoke to her yesterday about what's quite, because that goes back to the question you asked me: do people come back from the past and all the rest of it? But one of the things that I would ask him is why he hadn't recognized it, because he tried to say he was a moral stand-up person, but obviously he wasn't.
No.
And so I wanted to tackle the issue of his penchants for young girls, and I would like to tackle the issue of him and his affairs, particularly this affair where he was actually married at the time, and he made a big thing about his wife and his two children that lived with him. And this affair he had with this woman who ended up turning state's evidence, which helped bring him down. And I'd like to tackle that issue with him. So they made a very bad film about that. That's Hollywood for you, see. They made a really bad film. That's why I don't want to work with them. I'd like to work with sort of a quirky, maybe the Australian Film Board.
Lots to talk and discuss there.
I like the questions. More questions. Have you got a list, Keith? Let's do some more. You can edit this.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably a question from me. Your adopted father, like now with what you know now, would there be any questions for him? Like, so now, like you said, like once the internet came out, you really truly appreciated the severity of what had happened in Colombia and all that sort of stuff. Is there anything that you think, fuck, I wish I could have asked him that, like after the fact?
I asked him a lot of questions, which brought to me the knowledge, which gave him. But there are some things that I forgot to ask him. At the time, and that because everything's so piled on top of it,
rush.
You want to know what's what, and and then he died. But one of the things I would have liked to have spoken to him about, and he did a very strange thing to me when I was about 6 or 7 years old. He sneaked into my room at night, and he put a wallet under my pillow. He woke me up and said, "I just want you to have this, son." And I was half asleep at the time. And later on, I don't know if it was the same day or the next day or whatever, but it was a bit later. I asked him what the wallet was about, and he said, "Never." He said, never tell your wife where you keep all your money. And I always wanted to ask him what he meant by this.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, maybe they'd had a row about money or something, I don't know. But he gave me this wallet, it had some money and it was only pocket money, but he said that to me with a kind of angry face. He never really got angry. And he said that to me, and I wanted to know really what he meant by that. I wondered what he meant by that, and it's quite interesting because when he was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, I helped him make a will and all the rest of it with the money and stuff and all that stuff. And I was rummaging through this big box that he had, a chest of drawers in his office, to help him because he couldn't hold things properly. So I was picking up papers for him. And I found this little book, which is like a little bank book. And inside it had like £70,000 in it. And he said to me, "Shh, put that away." So he'd obviously not told his wife about this money. He got stashed away. And later on, he said to me that money was the money he got from the firm for doing his other work. Yeah. So that was his MI6 money. But he hadn't told his wife hadn't told his wife about it. Don't tell anyone.
Did you have siblings through your adopted parents? So like,
So my adopted mother couldn't have children, but as you know in the book, we went to Cali later, and that's when I thought that children came from shops. When I was like 5 years old, I didn't know all about the sex thing. I thought children came from a shop because they got me from a shop, didn't they? And they got,
right.
I didn't. So we went to get so that Monique was my
Sister,
half sibling, but we were adopted. Obviously, we weren't physically related, but I love Monique. She was all right, but she was very ill when we got her. Nearly died. She had the dysentery and all that stuff. It was common disease with very poor people. But Monique sadly died of a brain hemorrhage. It was quite sad. But I'm still in touch with her children, Matthew and Christopher. Nice kids. They live in the UK. Yep. They're all right. Good old fashioned working class family.
You still have a good relationship with your children?
Yeah, it's on and off. My son has found it very hard to come to terms with a lot of stuff. I think he's got his own little set of problems, but it's on and off with him. At the moment we're off, but it will be on again. Look, if you haven't had children, you don't understand how difficult it is to always have a good relationship with your children all the time, every day. That's dreamland. That's not reality. Reality is that you have a relationship with your children that's sometimes good and sometimes isn't so good. I have a relationship with my eldest daughter because when I was single after my wife's death, I did procreate another child. Let's put it that way. But I haven't seen her, unfortunately, because her mother was a member of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they don't talk to people in Devil's World. So I'm not allowed to, so I don't know. It's all a bit crazy. But the other two, we have it on and off, and both of them are now married and live a good, decent, working, middle-class family life in the United Kingdom. So I've done the best I could for them. I literally sacrificed blood and sweat and tears for them and gave them the best I could. But the thing is, right, no one teaches you how to be a parent. You just have to fumble through it and get through it. And when I was bringing those two children up on their own after their mother died, I was suffering from very severe mental health depression myself. So frankly, I don't know how I got through it. But I'm not so sure they completely understand what I went through to bring them up in the way that they have been brought up. I wasn't perfect, father, and I don't think anyone could even suggest that they would be a perfect father.
I don't think there's anything as such as a perfect parent.
You do what you can.
I mean, I'm far from perfect, but I gave those two the love and care, everything I could have done. I sacrificed everything. There was a time when we had, after my wife died, I had no money. And I used to go out and try and get someone to get me to clean their windows for them for £5 or their car for £20. And I used to come back whilst they were at school with £20 in my pocket, and I'd go to the supermarket and buy something that I could feed them with. I don't want people to feel sorry for me because I'm not after that, but this is the reality of what I went through with depression and bringing up children. Unfortunately, at that time, the local government helped pay for the rent for the house that we lived in, but I still had to go and make some money. And I went from being a millionaire to having nothing, and with severe mental health problems and trying to get through life each day. And when my daughter comes home from school and saying she needs new shoes, I didn't have the money. Just didn't have the money. So I would go out Saturday and try and make some money to bring back, and I struggled through life like that. So being a parent isn't always the showy, offy things that people see. It's those day-to-day struggles. And I got through it. They had, I don't think they appreciate what I went through, and I think I've said that on occasion, which can make life a bit difficult. I'm quite, I like to be honest about the good and the bad, and the way I've behaved. I've not been brilliant, but I've given them every bit of love that I can, and I've tried through the cloud and dust and shit that is depression and the crap I went through. I tried my very best, and that's all anyone can do. And there are moments when I don't think that's been appreciated, and there are moments when I've actually said that. So I don't think that's gone down too well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my wife Julie has two daughters who have grown up and married, and I get on absolutely fine with them, and the grandchildren come and stay with us, and so they're all happy families. I mean, but there are some bitter pills to swallow for them, and I'm a bit outspoken, and sometimes I've said perhaps things in a way that's a little bit too blunt, and maybe that hasn't gone down too well.
Yeah.
But I love them, and they know where I am, so they can always get in touch if they want.
Yeah. No, that's all you can say. That's all you can do. Like, really,
Yeah.
Maybe when.
But they know me. I do call a spade a spade. I'm not going to fib.
No, like, when they get a bit older and their kids are much older, maybe then they may understand, what
Maybe.
not exactly what you went through, but
No.
At least a fraction.
Yeah. I if I could change anything about myself, I wish I could be a little more tolerant and understanding of perhaps what they went through at the same time.
Yeah.
But you can't turn the clock back.
No.
So you just have to get on with life. So I think people see this kind of life. You can't look at life through rose-tinted glasses because it's not real.
No.
And real life families have issues and problems that they have to resolve, and it can take years and years and years to get through those problems.
Yeah.
And so that's the way it is. Yeah. But I love them. It's not a problem. And I would do anything for them. If one of them stood at the door with nothing, I'd take them in and give them everything I've got. No problem.
Good.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there.
Well, at least this part anyway.
Yeah, at least this part. And I think Roberto. So actually, that's one question I wanted. When was it that you changed your name?
Well, I've never changed my name.
Well, you know what I mean. Philip to.
I've always been Philip Whitcomb, my English name, and my Colombian name, Roberto Sendoya Escobar. I've always been that.
Right.
I'm the guy with two fathers, and I'm the guy with two names.
But was it when you found out? Oh, hang on. So
let me
let
me answer the question. There are two parts to it. When I was adopted officially by my English parents, I was given an English name. So it is at that time when I was given two names. Before that, I was Roberto Sendoya Escobar, which is in my paperwork. And then they gave me this other name. So from that moment on, which is late 1965, I had two names. Okay. So when did I start using my Colombian name? Well, I used my Colombian name to open a bank account in, I can't even remember now. 1980 something or other. So I've used my Colombian name and now and then, here and there, because I've had the paperwork since that moment in 1989 when Dad handed over to me my Colombian paperwork. It's at that moment in time where I've realised I've got two names, and I think, oh, that'd be quite cool. Let's go into the Abbey National in the High Street in Walton-on-Thames in Surrey, in England. Let's see if I can open a bank account with this name.
Right. Okay. So
and I just thought I'd try it, and I did, and they gave me a bank account. It's quite cool.
Right. So it was 1989 where you started accepting, or when you first accepted the biological name.
Yeah, it's when I started thinking, okay, all right,
because when you growing up as a junior, you wouldn't have had any idea about the Roberto Escobar.
Well, it's funny because I tell you what's quite interesting. I'm glad you mentioned it, really, because I hadn't given it much thought. But I look back now, and my godfather Don Gregorio did used to call me Roberto sometimes.
Oh,
And I wondered about that. And now I look back now, and I actually think, there are moments when people did call me Roberto, so that was quite interesting.
oh, there you go.
I hadn't thought about it like that. But personally, as an adult, you start thinking. But it's not like, what am I going to do? It's like, I've got two names. Actually, my English name is always the best name to use with traveling and paperwork and documents. But on the other hand, my Colombian name is real, and I can use that if I want to. So it's just the thing that as I said to the guy at Sky News, I'm just the man with two names, and I've been called a lot worse than Philip Wickham in my time. That's for sure.
All right. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. It's probably the longest episode that we've ever recorded.
I reckon we have, yeah, that's it.
And I thought when we spoke to Jenny, that was a bloody long episode. But this one here definitely takes the cake.
Jenny hardly talks.
Are you serious? Even after we finished recording with her, she sat here for another like half an hour, 45 minutes. I go, mate, it's getting close to midnight. Like, we better get her out of here.
When I flew over to England to do a TV interview for BBC, they said I nearly broke their budget because I took so long doing everything. Because we were supposed to be 4-hour filming, and it was like 5 days.
Oh, that is so good.
Really, really, really appreciate your time, man. And whenever you have time, your schedule permits, man, we'd love to have you back on, mate.
You and I,
we'll do it again.
You and I will be in touch in the coming days, just so I can touch base with some stuff that we spoke about last week.
Yeah, and don't forget the shoes.
Yeah, Benny, the shoes.
Benny, the shoes. We're going to call him. We're like the mafia. We're going to call him. He's Benny the Shoes.
Benny the Shoe guy.
Awesome.
Benny the Shoes. All right, guys.
Thank you so much.
We'll be in touch. All right.
Thank you, Roberto.
Have a great day.
Ciao. Cheers.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
That was almost 2.5 hours there.
That was crazy.
I don't know what to say.
What can you say?
I don't know what to say. We've just interviewed or spoken to. I'm not even going to say interviewed. We've spoken to Pablo Escobar's firstborn son.
That is just mind blowing, isn't it? That is
Holy crapola.
And what a top bloke he is, eh?
Oh, absolutely. Here we go. He's just sent a message. 2 thumbs up. Good one, guys.
Lad. Absolute lad. Can't wait for him to come.
I'm just going to write back to him. Wow, what a top chat. Excellent. I don't know where we go with that from there. Where do we go with that? Absolutely. You know where we'll go with that?
This is
Bloke Spit.
I'm just going to go into Bloke Spit because honestly, it's just wow.
Yeah, you can't really extend on that, can you?
Just, you know what, the way that he explained, his mental health struggles and, that he hit alcohol really hard. And the way that he got himself out of it, he ended up going into a mental health institution to, give himself respite, to give himself a bit of a detox. And, and then after his body was crumbling because he wasn't getting that fix day in, day out.
But it's just cold turkey, mate. Good on him.
Yeah, it's just wow. And,
over 20 years
the way that it broke down relationships between him and his children and the family and but he still had to stay strong and continue doing what he needed to do. Like, how much can a human being go through before they get to that point in their life where the lowest of low, and it's like, well, I'm just going to drink. I'm just going to keep drinking. You've just lost your wife. You've just lost your adopted father. The same year you lose your biological father. you lose your business, you lose
everything.
You've gone from this very high business person to nothing, almost near
almost instantly.
Homelessness. It's amazing. It kills me. It kills me. But that was a top chat.
It was
Absolutely fantastic episode there. Bloke Spits.
Yep.
I know this is the elephant in the room again. You're waiting to talk about it. Last Friday night, we had another scratchy between our two teams. Your team again outplayed my team. Right. We're not going to get too detailed about it. But then Sunday came. We had a very big tournament at our club. And the display of football between both our teams was very different to the way that we played on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Very exciting, actually. You refereed both my games.
Yeah, they were look, from what I saw, man, like I said, just simple. Hold structure, mate. Hold structure and you'll be fine.
Let's not forget, these kids are 8 years old. They're not your Ronaldos and your Messis and your Manchesters and Liverpools and
Don't
Arsenals,
need to be,
right?
mate. Don't need to be.
They are at the stage of their life where football is all about fun and getting to love the game.
Correct.
And yes, there are a lot of people that love a lot of kids that love the game at this age, but it's just very important that, the pressure isn't applied. And I learned that. I've got a couple of players in my team that I guess feel like there's a lot of pressure on them because they are the more high performing players. And what I did on the last Sunday or yesterday, I took off that
Pressure.
that pressure. So it was
it was good.
It was a very different outcome.
And just the whole gala day in general, like for the club, oh man, how many people would there have been? Maybe, I would say over 5,000 people. They were predicting 3,900.
Let's put it this way. There was 260 teams?
In the mid 200s, different teams.
So let's say 260 teams on average of, say, 11 players a team.
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone brings their parents,
right?
Grandparents.
You've got,
siblings.
Some of the kids in my team had 6 to 8 people there supporting them. Right. Yeah. So, you think of that, and the car show was on as well.
Yeah, that was awesome.
There was, it was great. It was a fantastic day out. It was a tiring weekend for me.
Oh, yeah.
I drove back from Riverland at 5 a.m. that morning to be at the ground by 8:30 to watch my little guy play. I got to watch both his games. I'm so proud of his efforts.
Yep.
And then and then I had to coach my 2 games. So it was a great weekend.
Yeah.
Great weekend. Yeah. I'm feeling it right now, and it's currently nearly 11:30 p.m. at night. Thanks to Roberto.
Thanks, mate.
But that's my bloke's bits. I don't really have. Oh no, the only other thing I was going to mention was, did you see the hot air episode this morning? The hot air balloon. So there was a hot air balloon that took off over in Melbourne, and a guy jumped out of the hot air balloon and went in Preston.
What?
Yeah, I saw it on the way over. I was watching the news.
What did you jump out for?
Yeah, no. And apparently the hot air balloon company now is giving counselling to the people that were on that hot air balloon plus other people within the company.
Was it an accident? Or did
Well, that's what they don't know. But the news report finished off with links to Beyond Blue and Lifeline.
Oh.
So they're saying that it could. There's no way you can fall out of a hot air balloon if you don't jump. Honestly,
that's sad.
So so obviously there's a lot of issues out there at the moment, and this is one of those issues. And
well, it happened this morning.
Today, yeah. But I reckon that's a wrap on the show.
Yeah,
the wrap on this episode. Guys, a big shout out again to our sponsors, Benny from Lush Clean Kicks.
Yes, Benny.
Andrew from XL Property.
Yep.
or I won't say Andrew, I'll say the whole team at XL Property for sponsoring us. And again, get involved with us. Send us your questions. Roberto has opened up the lines for us and is more than happy to keep answering questions after this episode has aired. So contact us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I had a bit of a blank there. YouTube. Just follow Two Blokes in a Pod, or you can send us an email with all your questions, twoblokesinaPod@gmail.com. That's it for this episode.
Thanks,
Until
guys.
next week, here we go.
Are you ready to sell your property quickly and hassle-free, or are you looking for a great property management service? Introducing XL Property, your trusted real estate partner. With XL Property, you can expect top-notch service, expert guidance, and maximum value in your home or investment. Sell smarter, sell faster with XL Property. XL Property, your key to a seamless selling and management experience. Visit xlproperty.com.au, proud sponsor of the Two Blokes in a Pod podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Lush Clean Kicks.
Your pride and joy need a bit of a TLC, bring them back to their former glory. Get in touch with only the best products said to make them all clean and crispy again.
Reach out to Benny, lushcleankicks@gmail.com, or check him out on Instagram and Facebook.